Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 493 for the week of Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
And Toby.
Scott.
And Charlie.
And Charlie.
Scott Shea's here.
Ooh, man, we got the Shea.
We got Lane in the waiting room if he wants to join in. As much as we tried, and by trying, I mean I texted him twice, the one and only Bryce Larson laughed when I asked him if he watched the movie, if he watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, and replied with, let me get his reply here. I thought there was a chance. He said, I've heard the movie will be an hour and a half without all the slow-mo. But 4 hours is a lot. I'll listen to the podcast about it.
No, he won't.
So
He's not going to listen to the podcast.
Short Jan.
Right. That was my thing. So I was like, oh, so you're not only not going to watch the movie, not be on the podcast, you're also not going to listen to the podcast. So, Bryce, we love you very much. Come back soon. We are here. We got extra people on today because we have to talk about the one, the only, the event of the millennium, the Snyder Cut, or as it's officially called, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2021 film based on a 2017?
Yep,
Yeah.
2017.
That's so long ago. HBO Max 6-part miniseries rolled into a 4-hour movie. We've gone from this doesn't exist to holy shit, this exists. And now it's out. And we're going to talk about it. This is really our only conversation tonight. So we're going to go full spoiler. We are going to go just everything, nothing else. If you hate Zack Snyder's Justice League, this is not your episode. But if you're here for the Snyder Cut talk, we've got you covered. We are going to do something. We did not have that many movie episodes this past year, obviously, because of
I'm so
COVID.
looking forward to the Bloodshot one.
So
We did that one already, Rock. The last one I was on.
But we did devote like the full, what was it?
we don't
8 weeks or something for WandaVision?
Oh, yeah, we basically had like multiple episodes worth of WandaVision talk because every episode was multiple, like an hour of multiple podcasts.
So we're going to talk some Falcon Winter Soldier, right?
We could talk about Falcon Winter Soldier next week. We are going to be talking about the Snyder Cut today. And look, other stuff may come up during the conversation, but this is Snyder Cut territory. We like to do our movie episodes, kind of doing a little round table, all of us giving our quick thoughts, no spoilers or very light spoilers. So again, if you're listening and you just want some quick takes, we're going to do that. Then we're going to dive into the meat of the thing. The movie was 4 hours long. We often go as long or longer than the movie. I don't think we're going to go 4 hours. I'm saying this as we are just starting recording at 9 o'clock at night. I will find out if I'm still recording at 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll see.
What do you mean, 2 in the morning? What?
Unfortunately, multiple people on this podcast, probably myself included, would not be here that long. So if Toby wants to take over and Toby and Charlie want to man this thing till 4 in the morning, they're more than welcome to. I'll be asleep.
You mean 6?
Go for it.
I can come back on at like 5:30ish.
He'll wake back up and
Toby will be randomly rambling on about the 4th hour or the 4th act of Snyder Cut.
I'll be
So I'm
rambling.
just
If it makes any sense, it probably won't, but I'll be rambling.
See, I'm just wondering if it would get to the point of like Toby watching a movie where he like passes out for like 15 minutes and then rejoins the conversation.
just 15 minutes of silence.
Everybody's gone and he just starts chatting.
So I've used my random number generator, and we're going off the list as I have here. We are going to Scott. Oh, very slip of the tongue. We are going to start with Scott as Google's random number generator has decreed. Scott, I want you to start. I want to hear a little bit, if you can remind people your opinion of the original movie, and then give us some thoughts on the new one. We're going to go Scott, Toby, Charlie, Myself, Brock, Kevin. So that's the table. That's the table order.
I think the original one of the 9 DC movies that were out at that time, the original one would have been
9.
Yeah.
Man of Steel, BVS.
Man of Steel, BVS,
Yeah.
Justice League, 2 Wonder Womans, Aquaman.
No, none of those were out when that was out. No,
no. This is a total list going in.
Oh.
There's like 9. This is the 10th movie.
Oh, okay.
Don't look.
You said when the original was out.
No.
And I
when
was
the
like,
original
what?
was out, I think I enjoyed it somewhat.
Yeah. I need to do my ranking. I've been thinking.
But I went back and watched it again. Watched the director's cut of BVS. Decided it was a solid 2017 Justice League, solid C. So, and then this one, full grade higher. Like, it's not even the same movie. I thought a lot of things were different. There's still plot holes. There's still things that need to be fixed. I mean, when there's stuff that needs to be filled in a 4-hour movie, you're like, okay, well.
Add slow-mo.
The slow-mo was too much. I mean, why is Superman wearing a black costume? You know, things, I mean, small things. But I gave it a solid B. I enjoyed this much more. There's better character development, things like that. We'll get into it as we go around again. But it went from a C to a B. And I think it's probably number 3 on my list.
Okay.
Aquaman, Wonder Woman, both better, I thought. Man of Steel, maybe it's 4.
Okay. You said you watched this twice?
No, you kidding?
Oh, okay.
I will say, you ready for this? My mother is 81, and she watched it with me and
nice.
Really liked it.
Cool.
She sat through all 4 hours. She's like, I don't know if I could sit through 4 hours of this stuff.
There is one other question I want to ask people too as we're going through this. Did you watch it in one go, or did you watch it in like the chapter breaks?
Yeah, I was one go. My normal friends weren't going to watch it. But I told them after I'd seen, I said, look, there's break time. You could watch it in 2 or 3 different sittings if you choose. They're like, really? I said, yeah, there's acts. It's like a mini series. You could go through and check it all out or watch it all at once.
Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, I've also told people like, you can do that with a movie too. You can just stop whenever you want. That's the great thing about movies. You can just stop them whenever. But
that's why they have establishing shots, so you can pause.
The chapter breaks, I think, is helpful to a audience that might not be into a 4-hour plus movie.
81-year-old mother watched 4 hours of the Justice League. So who's this cyborg guy? Who's that cyborg mom? Is he a new character? Yeah, he was made in the 80s. So the 80s is new.
Toby, please remind us briefly of your Justice League 2017 thoughts, and then let's hear what you think.
It's scary because we recorded it all, so someone can actually call me out on it because I don't remember what I really said.
I think I probably liked it a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, I think mine was like, it was fun. I didn't completely hate it just because I love the character so much, but I didn't like the end of the movie. I didn't like the movie overall, but it was a fun movie. Like, so I kind of, I don't know, I enjoyed it anyways, if that makes sense. And that's kind of how I went into this one. Yeah, I really, really like it now. It went from a movie that was just kind of fun, the one that would not necessarily rewatch all the time, to this one where I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really dug it. I dug the end way more. I mean, we're gonna go more into details later, but I really, really like the Snyder Cut. It was almost watching Man of Steel or the earlier Nolan Batmans, where I was kind of at the edge of my seats the entire time, even though half the shots I already seen before, even though they got regraded color-wise, they felt different. So I was all in. Yeah, I really dug it. So, but yeah, I'll tell you this much though. I did the whole enchilada, right? So I tried to do it on a nightly basis, as in I wanted to do Man of Steel like Monday night, BVS Tuesday night, and so on. But there was a rumor that the new BVS version was going to be on the same day, so I kind of had to do BVS and Justice League at the same time. So what I did was I did Man of Steel like the night before, and then at breakfast, because I still had to work on that day, unlike Ryan, I watched BVS at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, and then I also decided to actually rig my HomePods up together with the Apple TV so I could get the nice sound, which was well worth it, by the way. And then I did Justice League Max. So I think I ended at 2 or 3 in the morning, kind of similar to what Ryan did. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really dug it.
And you watched it straight through, right?
Well, I had some pee breaks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but like you didn't watch it like over the course of a couple days.
No. I did BVS extended and Justice League. In through the day. Well, the BVS got broken up through the day, but then I did Justice League in one sitting, and then MOS the day before.
How do you feel about BVS? Because I'll talk about it more. But yeah, I did rewatch.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, I was actually talking to my one of my normal friends about it. The first time I watched it, I hated BVS. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. And I think I went back into the theaters to watch it again to kind of confirm it if I really didn't like it. And I think I came back going, I'm not sure this dude knows what's up with these characters because they don't seem right? And then I set on the Blu-ray, which is the ultimate cut for like, I don't know, years. Like I bought it because, I still like the characters and I like some of it, right? So I picked it up. And even though everybody said to watch the ultimate cut, I just never did. And then when they announced the Snyder cut, that's when I actually sat down and watched the ultimate cut. And that sitting, I really enjoyed it. I was like, wait, Lex Luthor makes a whole lot more sense. He's a little creepier and scarier, and I dug it quite a bit more at that sitting. But when I rewatched it again, it's almost like, wait, no, there are things I really don't like about this movie, like that came back, There are stuff that I really dug too, like the whole different perspective for Bruce Wayne while the men when the MOS giant fight is happening. I really dug that. Mm-hmm. But there's other things in the movie, like the way he gets to hate each other. It's just like, nah, both of them are smarter than that. This wouldn't be this easy. And for the people in general to be hating on Superman on the thing that happened in the desert versus, all the stuff that happened in Metropolis was still kind of weird to me. So it kind of went back down. So I kind of went from a low, a little bit higher to a high, and then it went back to like a medium, I guess, to medium bad, I guess. Yeah.
Medium bad.
And then Justice League went from medium fun to I like it a whole lot.
Yeah, we don't have to do too much BVS talk here. God knows we've talked about that quite a bit, but I'll definitely have one or two words. Charlie, what do you think?
So I remember in the original, the 2017, I kind of considered it a step in the right direction. Like there were parts of it that bothered me, parts of it that I remember harping on. But like overall, I kind of thought that it was starting to shift more into what I expected from these kind of movies and that kind of thing.
A lot more MCU-like in parts. A little more lighthearted.
I would say it's not even necessarily that it was more MCU like because a lot of the scenes that I would have thought would have been Whedon ended up in the Snyder cut and that kind of stuff. But I think there was just a lighter sense with a lot of the characters and stuff that made Superman feel like a more hopeful character and like that kind of thing. So I remember overall kind of having a positive reaction to the Justice League movie and kind of feeling like it's not perfect. It's still not where I want these movies to be, but we're getting closer to what I want from these movies. So So the way I ended up watching the Snyder Cut was technically broken up, but not that broken up, because I started the day with a somewhat light work day. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to just like start this. And of course, I sat down, watched like 15 minutes of it. And then I started getting pings from work about something going wrong or whatnot. So I'm like, okay, got to put this down. And then I was busy the rest of the workday. So then after the workday, I picked up the rest of the movie. So yeah, I watched like 15 minutes and then watched the remaining 3 hours, 45 minutes. um, and I could tell while watching it, and yes, I could have technically stopped the movie at any time. But while other people were talking about how they were glued to the edge of their seat the entire time, I realized at some point I was getting fatigued from the tone of the movie, and especially with the, I don't even know how to put it, but I was starting to feel fatigue from watching the movie in such a way that I don't think I got necessarily the same level of enjoyment that I would have if I had broken it up on that first sitting.
Yes.
But I did go back and rewatch it little bits at a time between that first viewing and now. And I did find that I enjoyed it a lot more watching 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there, and so on.
Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I did get fatigued, and I mean, look, I took a couple breaks, got a snack, got up and down. But again, I thought the parts made that much more digestible.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to admit I should have just gone, I'm starting to get fatigued, I should take a break, rather than being like, damn it, I'm going to finish this movie.
Call that the Toby method. But overall thoughts?
Oh, overall, the very first thing that I had to say about the Snyder Cut versus the Whedon Cut is I did not miss I realized I did miss one scene that was a Whedon scene, and that was the Superman Flash race.
Yeah.
But other than the Superman Flash race, there was not a single Whedon scene that I missed. There's not a single scene where I'm like, crap, that scene didn't make this. Like, all the scenes that I particularly liked were in the movie. A lot of them were expanded for sort of a better presentation, and even some of the stuff that I remember driving me a little nuts. And I remember talking on the podcast that I didn't necessarily have a problem with Wonder Woman being somewhat faster than sort of a normal person, but I never considered her like super speed like Superman or Flash. And the way that the scene that drove me crazy was put together with sort of the slow-mo and stuff, it didn't drive me crazy at all, because it just kind of blends into the way Zack Snyder does action sequences a bit more.
Oh, the first Wonder Woman scene there, I mean, again, when we break it down, that there's a part that just drove me nuts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the part.
Well, I definitely liked Justice League a lot when it came out. I still, there's a lot I like in it, in the original cut. There is some of the added jokes and added scenes, which are, clearly the Joss Whedon stuff. To me, just a lot of them didn't land. I still like the overall plot, the structure, look, Steppenwolf was never a great villain, but just the team getting together. The opening, Charlie, the other one that I did miss was the opening where the kids are like on like their like a cell phone. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly how they're filming it, but they're like talking about Superman, and he's there and he's talking with these kids, right? I mean, it's a great scene. The problem with that scene.
That opening.
Do you really?
That opening. Yeah, because at first I'm like, that's it. Yeah, I thought that wasn't him at first, because I thought that was just some dress-up dude being Superman that the kids were talking to.
Everyone hates it because of the mustache thing. That's why people. But it's a good scene. Ignore that problem. So I didn't know like how like Snyder's version would be clearly darker, but yeah, it was tough. A couple of those scenes I would have like, yeah, I swear this would have been like a Joss Whedon thing, because not that it didn't feel like Snyder, but it just, I just wasn't expecting some of the scenes that were in the Snyder Cut to be here. So overall, I did like Justice League. So I did the crazy person thing, and I got up in the morning and I watched Man of Steel. I watched the director's cut of BVS. I watched the extended cut, and then I watched Justice League. I started at 10:30 in the morning. I finished at 2 a.m. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a nap in between. Like halfway through BVS, because otherwise I knew I wasn't going to make it. I definitely got like towards the end of Justice League, I was like, man, I am burning out. It was not hard to focus, but I was getting fucking exhausted. So I'll talk about what I thought in a second, but I decided before the podcast, I'm going to watch it again. So I watched it straight through the first time. Obviously, breaks for the bathroom, blah, 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 but basically straight through. I then on Sunday and Monday watched it like a chapter at a time. So I basically watched it, like a TV show. I came in for the first chapter, stopped it, went about my day, came back a few hours later, watched the second chapter, watched the third chapter before bed, and then the same thing Monday. So I got to see it both ways. And, it's fascinating how well it works in the chapter breaks. I wonder if they made a mistake by not releasing all 6 parts on the same day as 6 separate episodes and telling people, hey, it's a binge. You can watch it all at once. Wink, wink, because there's a movie, because it's a movie. You could just hit play and it'll play the whole thing. But for people that want to break it up, they can. I wonder if that might have, if more people would have watched it that way. Because it did really, really well. We'll never know real numbers, but Warner Brothers has stated, it crashed HBO Max. They've said the numbers were outstanding. So I kind of wonder if that would have maybe got some more people to check it out that were a little scared of the 4-hour runtime. But man, if you've got the time to do it, watching Man of Steel, BVS, then Justice League all together, it's one big movie. It's especially BVS to Justice League. It's ridiculous. This really is his vision, start to finish. It works incredibly well.
I love how you say start to finish when he's already acknowledged he had like 3 more movies in his vision.
Oh, sure. There's obviously more stuff. And oh boy, I cannot wait for the end of this podcast because I've got a lot to say about the ending and what I would hope for. But yeah, there's obviously endless more he can do. But Man of Steel, rewatching again, I every time I see it, I like it more than the previous time. Man of Steel is so fucking good. BVS, I especially rewatching the director cut again. It is a significantly better movie than the theatrical version because so much of the plot is explained so much better. Toby, I'll disagree with you. In the original version, yes, it made no sense why they were fighting. The director cut, I feel, completely solves that problem because you actually expand out Luthor and Lois's plot a lot.
That's the first time I watched the director's or the ultimate cut.
Yeah.
The second time, I'm starting poking holes at it again. I'm like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But Justice League, it's really good. If you just hate Zack Snyder and you hate his vision for everything and you thought Man of Steel was the worst movie you've ever seen, look, you're not going to like this. You're just not going to, right? If these are just not your takes on the character and this is not your style of film, that's fine. But if you even remotely like that stuff, Justice League, while I like the original cut, this is the same movie. It's somehow a completely different thing. It's better in every way. There's some goofy stuff. I have some problems with a couple things here and there. But yeah, this I'll agree with Scott. except I think maybe the original Justice League is a B, and now this is an A. To me, this is look. It's not as fan friendly as like something like Endgame, maybe, but it is a shockingly thought out massive scope of trying to fit so many characters into this. It's like a Cyborg movie, a Flash movie, and an Aquaman movie, all their origins kind of shoved into this movie as well. It works way better than it has any right to, and especially towards the end, like they actually come together for a reason and work together and do something. And I feel like the problems people had with the earlier movies being so dark, they missed the movies becoming lighter and the teams, the things kind of working out as the movies go on. Man of Steel is a dark movie, but this is not 80 years of Superman being a goody two shoe. This is like day 2 for Superman, and that was a big argument of mine when we were watching it the original time. By the time you get to Justice League, we've now seen this path, and I really, really liked it.
So I just
have more specifics as we go.
I just have to comment on what you said about if you hated the other movies, if you hate Zack Snyder, like I would agree with you up until the point when I was talking to a friend of mine on Friday who absolutely fell in love with the Snyder Cut, who hated Justice League, who hated BVS, I'm just like, I would not have expected that reaction from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, look, if you don't like the literal darkness of the movies, if you don't like this take of Superman, I'm not sure that. And even like Justice League, tried to be a little bit lighter, but it still has that style. I think Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, these movies all feel different. That's great. I mean, if someone hated Man of Steel and BVS but really likes this version, that's cool. Maybe because I think especially by the end, you do see the team come together. Batman's entire thing in BVS was fuck the world. I'm a loner. I'm never going to work with anyone. You can't trust Superman. You can't trust any of these people. And by the end of the movie, he learns too late. The whole point of this movie is them coming together and Batman being like, I was wrong. We have to do this together. And
I know. I think all I'm basically saying is if you feel like you can watch the movie with it all an open mind, sit down and watch some of it. And if you find that you're not enjoying it, then stop, especially if you have HBO Max. I don't think it's a given that if you don't buy into the previous vision that you wouldn't buy into this is all I'm basically saying.
It's possible. I mean, I definitely saw a lot of comments about the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie that people were kind of like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. Because there's a couple things at the beginning that I'm a little bit about, but I don't know, man. If you get through that Amazon scene and you're not into it, then just turn it off.
Oh, the Amazon scene was awesome. I mean,
I just don't because it was incredible. Man, those women with the hammers, holy fucking hell. They were incredibly buff. That was a quite a scene. We'll get more into detail in just a little bit. Brock.
Yep.
Remind us about Justice League. Remind us what you thought of the original and what do you think of the new one?
So the original Justice League, I did not care for. There were things about it that I enjoyed, but for the most part, I didn't feel like it was a solid movie. I mean, you could tell it was somebody else's brought in to basically patch together something out of somebody else's work. That being said, there are things that I liked about it. There are things but overall, I think it was Justice League gave us something. It gave us something, but it didn't give us what we wanted or what enough of what we should have had. Snyder's Justice League cut is a far superior film. In tone, in pacing, in story, everything. It surpasses Justice League, period. It is its own movie. It's a completely separate thing, even though, like you guys have talked about, there are so many similar scenes, but they're extended and drawn out. I watched it at midnight on Thursday.
No.
Yep. I started at midnight, and I went for 3 parts.
Okay, that's
I went,
better.
this is a good time to stop. And I stopped, went to bed, had my normal Thursday, came home, got the kids to bed, sat down, and finished watching it. So technically I watched Justice League in one day, but 2 different sittings. But I liked that that was an option, right? That you could stop it where you wanted to. There were points where I thought it dragged a little, especially in some of the later parts. But overall, I think what Justice League brought out of like what we had not seen before, those things that were added, like the development of Cyborg's backstory and explaining his powers in a lot better way than the original Justice League cut. The Flash stuff that was added was fantastic. There's other stuff we'll get into, but overall, I think Justice League is, again, I think the grading of whatever it was you thought it was, it's a level above that or a little bit more.
Kevin, you were the one that I am the most interested in.
That's what you say.
Thanks.
There was nothing
flattered.
Your opinions tend to be
last.
In other words, Kevin, he respects your opinion, and all of us were just noise. So.
No, I find a lot of Scott. I had no idea. Scott's very even keel on a lot of the stuff. Kevin, you like Scott. You tend to be a little less hyperbolic. But when you really dislike something, you really dislike it. I know you're not the biggest Zack Snyder fan.
Wait, hold on. I gotta push back on
that. He's totally. I'm
a huge Zack Snyder fan as a filmmaker. My problem with his movies is in the story bones, not his movies look awesome.
Yeah.
They're always a treat to look at, all the way back to Dawn of the Dead. They're always a treat to look at. So what's the first question? Oh, original movie? I remember sitting next to you in the theater, you, Ryan, when the lights went down for Justice League and saying, this feels like prom night. Like, I'm legitimately nervous because it's like all of the years of like Super Friends cartoons, Superpowers figures, a solo Superman movie, a solo Batman movie, a Wonder Woman TV show. It's like you were just right there and never quite got it. And then it was like, it happened. Honestly, you guys, this is the most I've thought about that Joss Whedon Justice League like this last half hour since watching it. I've never seen it again. I've never thought of it. I've never had a desire to watch it.
Never wanted to see it again.
Well, Scott,
I watched it a couple times.
I didn't hate it. To me, it's just like the equivalent of looking at as if the projector wasn't turned on. It's just like a blank screen. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. But anyway, what's the next question? Oh, how do we watch this one?
Yeah.
I want to say I watched about 2.5 hours of it on the day it premiered, and then the rest of it the next day. And then since then, I went back to the parts that I really liked.
Okay. Okay. So you got jumped around. You didn't do like a chapter rewatch. You
not a rewatch, no. So
am I the only one that saw it twice?
All the way through?
Yeah.
No, I saw it all the way through twice.
Oh, you did watch it twice. Okay.
So this is not going to be that interesting of a conversation, I'm afraid, because I really enjoyed it.
No.
Yes, Kevin. Welcome to the dark side.
It's not perfect. It's too long. I think you could have made an epic. You could have landed this plane at 3 hours 30 or even 3 hours even and still made all the points that this makes. Yeah. Sometimes it feels a little, people make fun of the slow motion. That doesn't bother me as much as it felt at times that there's not really a narrative rhythm. It felt more like Snyder at some point said, I'm just going to put in everything I filmed. Yeah. It almost had the feeling of going to back in the days of DVD when there'd be deleted scenes. Remember those old days? and you'd push play all, and you just kind of get a jukebox of random scenes. That's what this felt like at points. But there was a couple of things, since we're speaking generally, that were real WTF head scratchers, like just baffling decisions, in my opinion. But yeah, I think my biggest problem, Ryan, and this is my last thought, and then we can go into specifics. I was very aware in the runtime that there were a lot of scenes of people standing around explaining things. And after about the 7th one, I was just like, oh. But my grade would be like a B+++++, maybe an A-, somewhere right in there. And the first one would be, I don't know, a C-, whatever. Pick a grade out of a hat.
Well, let's take what you just said and actually springboard off that, because I did want to start 40 minutes into this.
Yeah,
the Snyder Cut of podcast. I did want to start because there was a couple things right at the very beginning where I was like, I'm not sure how this movie's gonna go. And I'll see if you guys agree with me. Superman's like death scream was an odd way to start. I know they wanted to kind of show everyone and everything, but it was I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take that literally, that his scream was vibrating like around the world
and into Atlantis.
Yeah, that was an odd choice. I feel like they could have had like sensitive characters sort of like feel that something was wrong, but not actually literally had the waves of his scream like washing over the ocean. That was an odd choice. The other one, obviously, and I'm far from the first person to say this, but the straight up like midsummer Norwegian song I was like, they're gonna kill this guy? Like that was another odd. Like Leanne just watched Midsummer a little while ago, and I'm like, this makes me feel very uncomfortable because this feels like it's directly out of this movie. That was another odd choice. I feel like both of those scenes, again, Kevin, you said there's fat trim through chunks of this movie, right? And those are, if you wanted to trim that, but I mean, it's a style, I guess. And man, if you love slow-mo, operatic, that Wonder Woman score kicking in, the multiple Nick Cave songs, so I'm happy with that.
It's funny that you cited those scenes because I was really into this at the beginning. Like, I really loved the first hour.
No, I'm not saying I didn't. I thought those two very specific things were just tonally like, this feels off. Like the scene of Superman dying was cool. The whole aftermath, the kind of everyone sort of responding to it. It was the literal. You can hear that echoing death scream across the world. I was like, I don't know.
It wasn't
that's
for
an odd.
You. It was
It's
for the mother
start.
boxes. It wasn't for you. It was for the mother boxes.
Sure, but again, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to take that literally, that the characters were hearing that, or if that was just like you're not wrong. Like the mother boxes were like, oh, we can sense this happening.
Well, and that's the thing is like when I watched that scene, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, why are we watching sound waves? Like,
yeah,
huh? Like the dissipation. I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And then it kind of hit a mother box. So I was like, okay. But later on in the film, when they explain the wake up, I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see that. But it was still just meh. It didn't.
It was just an odd.
I actually, for a second when that happened, you see like cover the whole Earth. I was like, are we going straight into nightmare mode? And that's what this movie is going to be, and it's a completely different movie.
Yeah. That was maybe a slightly strange way to start, but I very quickly, we do get scenes pretty, because Aquaman stuff is later. The Wonder Woman scene's pretty soon, the Amazon scene is
The Amazon
right
scene
away.
is in the first part. Yeah.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on this prior, but it's like all this stuff was in the original cut, but it's like just so different. It's done so differently.
Well, it's you get blood splatter from like when weapons like actually hit parademons and their oozing juices fall out. There's so much more going on. It's not just this very like it felt more natural than the original one because you're just kind of like, huh?
So this is something I'm wondering, and I'm not 100% sure one way or another because I have not watched the Justice League cut in a very long time, but I feel like a lot of these scenes were filmed with this is the style that Zack Snyder uses to tell action. And I feel like when it was edited together in the Joss Whedon cut, it was not edited together in Zack Snyder's style.
Well, they ramped up the color palette. They
but I don't think they used slow-mo as much. I think they let things run at like full. Yeah, so you kind of miss a little bit of sort of the touches that lend the emphasis to certain actions in a way.
Yeah.
Well, the Wonder Woman scene at the beginning, where in the bank, which was a lot longer,
way more violent too.
Yes.
And way. But like not like gratuitously violent. It was a really fucking cool scene.
Yeah, and the thing is you saw like the original version of that scene. I always had a problem with how it was paced. Like the pacing of it was off in Whedon's cut. But when I watched this one, and I know like it was mentioned that her speed was kind of a thing for some, but I think the speed in this was ratcheted up to where it needed to be, and it worked so much better than that original version.
Yeah, I'll let Charlie say his piece, but I'm just gonna say when she swings her like other arm around and deflects that one bullet, and then he switches to like rapid fire mode, and she's just like, oh man, I loved it.
Super cool. But why are you freaking blowing up the entire building at the end?
Well, she doesn't. She
blows up the building.
She just blows the backside of it out.
Yeah, sure. Just punch him. Just run there really fast.
She Civil Warred it, okay? She just Civil Warred that building.
There's a certain level that bothers me with a couple of scenes in this movie where I feel like heroes aren't using restraint in scenes where they have everything under control. And him going to reload when we've already seen her dart forward at like, she could have disarmed him. She could have
just punched
done a lot of different things.
Him with a finger.
But instead, she shows no restraint and just goes straight to something that's a bit of an overkill in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a big explosion, but I thought it was cool.
I thought it was cool.
I liked it.
Honestly, to me, it almost felt like it was we need to remind the audience that she can do this. So later when she does this.
Yeah, that's fine. I going back slightly to the scene with the mascara. When that chase, the chase with Steppenwolf was so good when they're just like kind of just hot potatoing the mother box between horses and like I'm so terrible with the names of all the Amazons. I'm never going to remember any of them.
That scene was so much better, like 10 times better than it was.
Oh, she grabs it and throws it in wraps it around the bow or wraps it around the arrow and just like launches it off like way far ahead. But it just felt different.
It's because
every scene
they added enough, and they like again like the speed was ratcheted up just enough to make it feel like this was what was going on, and not to mention that I mean when you see Steppenwolf, you're like, this guy actually looks intimidating. This guy actually looks great. Like, Who was that other pussy bitch?
I want to get Kevin's opinion on this because I definitely I know someone, Kevin and many other people who were very disappointed with Steppenwolf in the original. I kind of just took him as generic bad guy. There's one line of dialogue at like the start of the movie with him that to me is just like, oh, this is endlessly more personality than he had in the original version. It's just that one line where he's like, I'm paraphrasing here. I can't remember exactly how he says it, but he's like, I won't fail him again, or so it reminds me how he says it. Like you're like, oh shit, this isn't just him just on a rampage here. Like
there's a bigger bad guy.
Just from that one scene, like, oh, he failed Darkseid and he is fucked. Like you just know from that one scene, that one line there's just more personality in that than there was the entire original one, and it's pretty shocking how well. Look, Steppenwolf is just a big CGI monster, but more so than the first one by leaps and bounds.
Well,
you got to see the actor. I don't mean literally. I mean, you got to see the actor playing something underneath all the CGI.
Yeah.
Well, and this wasn't the same CGI version of the character that was in
totally
the
different.
original. It's a lot more polished. Like, amazingly so, a lot more polished.
Yeah, I maybe could have done it without like the sort of Transformer-like armor, and that's still a complaint about Cyborg as well. We'll deal with him a little bit more, but I thought some of those things are a little over-designed. But I have that problem with a lot of the superhero movies in general. Like, I sometimes simpler is better, and Steppenwolf, his all his little pointy bits, and Cyborg is very like all these little bits. It's like, yeah, I know you want it to look cool, but it's maybe a little too much. But that said,
I have a different take on it on the Cyborg thing, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But Steppenwolf, again, you guys jump in. Endlessly better than the original.
Well, the Steppenwolf in the original is the equivalent of Bane from that George Clooney Batman movie.
He's just this monster. Right?
He's just a monster, and he's just growling.
Yeah.
No, not the Nolan Batman, the George Clooney one.
I know which one you're referring to.
Oh, I thought you were doing the Tom Hardy laugh.
No, I was just like, that's a low blow.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
He was just growling, and so in this one, it was so refreshing. He was actually a character. It was wonderful. I'm not saying he's the greatest character, but I'm saying when you're starting from zero, what we got, I loved it.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the battle scene with like the lanterns and the gods in the past, that was before or right after Themyscira?
I think that was mid-movie in the original. Like, that was not...
Yeah, like in the original, but in this one, it was...
it was like chapter 2 or 3. It was later.
It was early, yeah. But I thought
but it was still...
About the same.
Yeah.
It's the same part of the movie. Again, and that's what's so weird about this. You do have like the same general beats, the same general story, but it comes at it from such a more detailed perspective, and the plot points, the team ups, the motivation of the villain, everything is expanded and just better.
And I will say, and this is one of those things I do remember vividly talking about from the first Justice League movie, talking about how Darkseid needed to be involved. It should have just been Darkseid. And this movie fixes all of that because of the longer vision. They weave Steppenwolf properly into the Fourth World mythology and that kind of stuff in a way that was just so lacking in the 2017 cut.
And like Kevin said, look, you're just going to get that info dump, and maybe the just Wonder Woman's voiceover for the flashback to the Golden Age, the quote unquote Golden Age, was just too info dumpy. But it set up the entire story. It set up Steppenwolf's plot. Now there is a major. I mean, there's some plot hole is not quite the right word. There is some kind of question about how some of this stuff works, and I feel like they maybe missed a point with this. But the entire flashback again, it just was better. It was really good. It had all the stuff the original had, but there was more. It was more fleshed out. It just with Darkseid, you now understand what's happening. You now understand the connection to the end of life equation. You have a connection to the what eventually happens. Why we have this nightmare world. All that was completely cut out of the original one. The whole link to Flash's flashing, back to BVS is cut out entirely, as far as I remember from the original Justice League. And now we have way more info about that. I do my the one question that I've seen pop up pretty frequently is, like, okay, so Earth is one of a billion worlds. It's just randomly the next world on their list. They come down, and Darkseid's like, oh crap, an actual force to fight me, and gets his ass handed to him, and they peace out. It's unclear to me, and maybe you guys have a little better answer here. I assume the mother boxes are just like, they have a shitload of these things. I don't think it's just these are the only 3 mother boxes. It still seems like they've been going around terraforming endless planets. I mean, Steppenwolf's entire thing was, you got 50,000 more planets to do this with, right? So I don't believe those are the only ones. He gets called back to Earth because the lost mother boxes wake up. But like, were they just in such a hurry to get the hell out of here that they're like, we just didn't put a marker on this planet. We don't know where it is. Where did we drop those mother boxes? I don't remember. They're back there somewhere. We'll find them again one day.
We got our asses kicked. Don't worry about it.
We're erasing it from history, so its propaganda never happened.
It never happened.
They erased it so well. They were like, "Oh shit, where was that planet?"
Darkseid never got his ass kicked by Zeus.
So I guess for me, the question becomes, well, 2 things. One, if these aren't the only mother boxes, that would explain why the fact that mother boxes were there didn't immediately go, the anti-life was there. Like, that would have been linked if it was. But that being said, at the end of the movie, losing the mother boxes meant they could no longer use a boom tube to get to the planet, it sounded like.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that they specifically say that. That is my reading of it, but I'm not sure if that was...
That's like, really what it made it sound like, was now that we've lost some mother boxes, Darkseid basically said, then we have to do this the old way.
The old way, yeah. Just fucking fly to the planet, yeah.
So there were 2 things about the way this was staged that I found interesting. One is they do mention it as like the multiverse again, suggesting that it's not even like necessarily the planet apocalypse of this universe or that kind of stuff.
Kevin may be able to correct me here, but if I am not mistaken, Apocalypse and New Genesis exist outside the multiverse. They are sort of like omnipresent in every universe.
Yeah, Charlie, isn't that used to be true? I don't know if that's true in current continuity.
I believe that is true with where the continuity is now.
Although I guess we're talking about movie continuity.
So
who knows?
Yeah.
And it does make sense if they're like, yeah, we've conquered all these worlds. I mean, that could just be going through the multiverse, going, multiverse after multiverse. Because I that's how I've always taken them. Even in the current like DC books where they're like, oh, now I'm like the ultimate Darkseid because all the past histories have been merged into one. I feel like they're kind of back to that point where these guys exist outside the traditional.
But I guess the question becomes, did it get lost because they had to retreat back through a boom tube or something?
No.
That was opened by the mother boxes they no longer had.
Oh, that's okay. I'll take that. Yeah, that works for me. Well,
I
no,
like
because
my
it was.
propaganda thing.
No, Charlie gets a no prize.
Well, it does seem like kind of a weird. Like,
Yeah.
can't you just go back to the planet? Like, can't you just
Yeah.
like? But yeah, if they're like popping through multiverses, maybe yeah, they literally can't get back. So I'll totally take that answer. Yeah, it was a weird. I feel like that was again not a plot hole, just a point they didn't really touch upon of why couldn't they go back? You know,
They basically just needed a throwaway line in there to give an explanation.
Right.
Without an anchor to that planet, we can't get back.
Lane asked Kevin, they are both gods, but are Ares and Zeus strong enough to injure Darkseid so badly? And yeah, I would think so. They can do whatever, obviously, but when you're talking about the god level, I would think.
That scene left me wondering, like, that's still a little too Lord of the Rings-ish for my taste, as was true in the first movie. Also, where you're dividing up the 3 boxes among the 3 kind of races.
My favorite scene is when the humans just dump it in a hole.
Yeah, and it's not even a deep hole. It's like some dude just hit the ground with a shovel twice, and good enough.
That's good. It's just getting hard down there.
The Atlanteans in the Amazon build these temples, and they have guards that guard it 24/7 for 5,000 years. Humans are like, throw it in a ditch.
Pretty accurate, probably, when you think about it.
It really is. It really is. Yeah,
that was the most realistic part of the whole movie. Good enough.
No, but
this ditch will do.
I basically got the impression from that scene that this was a fairly new god, Darkseid. Like, he hasn't been around forever at that point and had never really faced a threat like that at the time. And that being said, you also get the impression in this movie that if Darkseid walked through right now, it would be a whole different situation.
I'm gonna jump ahead. I have to because of the conversation, and we'll obviously circle back around to it. But that scene of all of them staring.
Let me guess. Wait, is it the Omega beams?
Oh, the Omega beams were fucking awesome.
I thought of you literally when that happened.
We only got the one scene, but those Omega beams were fantastic. The fact that he put those in there, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to need more of that. No, just a scene of all of them standing there, looking through the boom tube, looking at him, Desaad, and Granny Goodness. And they're like, yeah, what's up? You want a piece? That was so cool.
I saw that and I was like, Desaad's first appearance is going up. Oh, Granny Goodness's first appearance is going up.
That was a good scene. Yeah, that was cool. Oh man. The Omega beams are perfect. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I'm just saying it's funny that you are exactly what I thought of when those beams were launched. Not how cool it is.
I'm not even the biggest New Gods fan. I mean, I like Darkseid well enough. Like, I love I like these characters, but the Darkseid's, and obviously, like, people are gonna, Thanos, blah, 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 and I think DC would be very wise to, not maybe try to humanize Darkseid too much, because there's a visual kind of similarity between the two, but character wise, they're very different characters between Thanos and Darkseid. There could be kind of that like stoic tone, but they're really have their plots are completely different. Their motivations are really different. Darkseid's not. I mean, he's comic.
The fact
Thanos
that the movie
is very different, but
the fact that the movie acknowledges the anti-life is there's like certain things where you kind of sit there and go, well, if they're going to do Darkseid, they're just going to make him come as a world conqueror or something, and then they're like, nope, he's searching for the anti-life. I'm like, I would not have thought they would go for that.
But aren't the odds that you're never going to see Darkseid in a DC movie again?
What?
Not this Darkseid.
Not this Darkseid. That's what I'm saying. This one.
Let's wait till the end of the podcast, because I've got a number of thoughts. parademons, even the parademons, I thought looked cooler.
Okay, so
Like, did they-
one of
Yeah.
the parademons were better. One of the things that I
Hell of a
thought
lot more
was
of them,
better
too.
was the I didn't think so much of the humor was forced, and as a result, I felt like Flash's character was much better.
Well,
Yes.
I was going to
Does
say,
that make sense?
we can go to the heroes because I think. Well, Charlie, what you were going to say something?
I was going to
Or
say,
jump over?
I feel like to a degree in the Snyder cut, you never get the same level of detail on the parademons as you did in the 2017, because like the movie opens with Batman going directly after a parademon, so you get a really, really up close, detailed shot of a parademon. Where I feel like this movie, and rightfully so, you never see like a parademon stop. A parademon is always jumping all over the place and always like
Yeah, it's-
that whole swarm kind of mentality.
Yeah, it's just a horde that just never. Yeah, that just never stops. Yeah, I obviously Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg get way more motivation, character building. Cyborg the most of all. Each one of them gets a chapter, but Cyborg really this is his entire story here, right? You know, Flash and Aquaman, like, they're just kind of getting started, but you get a lot more characterization, you get a lot more motivation. But I think Flash is really the only one where, like, they really don't go into his powers. They like, yeah, he's fast, but they don't go into his origin or anything. Even Aquaman, you know, Cyborg
even
is
with his dad. I mean, I thought he was filled out because of his father.
Yeah.
I mean, he went to see his father. It made more sense, and you're like, okay. I mean, they backstoried him, but I mean, not as much. I mean, Cyborg, the movie, instead of it being about Superman coming in at the end, it was pretty much about Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg really, it kind of split between Batman and Cyborg being like the main characters in this. So much Cyborg being central to so many of the plots, especially the ending. I think with Flash, I know plenty of people don't care for his take on Barry Allen, and he's not really Barry Allen in any way. He's maybe more impulse than anything. But there's the pet store scene was pretty cool. It was like visually cool. There's still some weird stuff in that scene. I'm not sure the hot dogs flying at Iris's face was an odd choice.
I was like,
So Leanne 2 times sat down while I was watching this, the 2 times, and both times that was the scene that was on. And she's like, is he gonna like stick that hot dog in her mouth? Like, what's he doing with that hot dog? But
so the scene
conversation
was strange. The payoff was good.
Well, right. And the scenes with his father at the end, I feel, is sort of the move to a more normal Flash, where he's very all over the place. He doesn't know which direction to go. He's, I mean, literally running around in circles. He's just kind of, I have no purpose, no personality. I'm way over the top and just kind of overcompensating for everything. But then at the end, where he's like, yeah, I got the job at the crime lab, I'm going to solve this case. Like, okay, he's a little more focused. He's a little more down to earth. Luthor as well, because again, I just watched BVS, and sorry, I like that Luthor. It's he's way over the top and crazy, but there's like this weird, madness to him that's interesting. But the Luthor in like the post credit scene is obviously okay. We now have that like serious stoic Luthor that's like, all right, this character has gone through some growth and is like, yeah, I'm not this like lunatic anymore. I'm not the mad scientist anymore.
I'm not the Social Network.
Yeah. I remember if it was in the Facebook group or Twitter. I can't remember. Someone had made a comment where they're like, yeah, I wish like they didn't even name this character because like it doesn't matter that she's Iris West, like because he has no connection to her. He just likes her physically for the 1 second he sees her, and he saves her life, which is great. But like, it doesn't matter that that's Iris. Like he can meet her later and be like, oh, it's that girl I saved. You know, I think that's it almost doesn't matter. This character didn't need to be named, right? Nobody would know who that is if they don't say it, and they only say it in the credits. So, but it was, I mean, again, the slow motion mixed with the time stoppage, mixed with the kind of very stylized visuals. It is a cool scene. I don't know how she got to like 60 miles an hour from like her parking spot to slam into the back of that truck, but
I loved the glass breaking. The like hand out and like the glass. I really liked that scene.
I loved the shoes disintegrating. Right? Like he just starts and his shoes just go
evaporate.
They evaporate. And you're just like, that's
yeah.
Yep, that worked. It goes completely contradictory to what he's actually wearing. You're like, well, wouldn't the rest of it go? But all right, I'll give you the shoes. Yeah.
Toby, your basketball game's still on? You be quiet. What's up?
No, the basketball game's over. He's sad.
Did they lose, so now he doesn't want to talk?
Yep. I watched it too.
You didn't hear that little tear in the background?
Every once in a while, you probably heard it. Oh, come on.
Toby fall asleep. Probably. He's not even here anymore.
He did. He'll be on in an hour.
He's taking a nap so he can finish this out.
Okay, well, when Toby comes back, we'll, I don't know where the hell he is. Literally the one time we're talking to him, he probably must have actually gone away.
One thing I disliked.
Yeah?
It's dislike time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's dislike time anytime.
Why was Superman wearing a black suit?
Comic books.
Scott, I am 1000% with you on that because of when he's walking through that ship and all those costumes are coming out of those pods.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is the moment. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. The next time you see him, he's going to have the bright blue and the bright red. It's going to happen.
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. But worse than that, I didn't even mind him in the black costume at his comeback. I really minded it at the end when Clark Kent opens his shirt and he's got the black suit on under there. I just went, come on.
Yeah.
At least go happy for a second. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So it goes on. He comes out and he's wearing the black suit. My mom looks at me, and because I watched it with my mom, why is this suit black? And I'm like, well, he's wearing the black suit because he's not fully charged. And he goes up beyond the atmosphere so he can get charged. And she's like, oh, that's really neat. Yeah. So unless you have some nerd sitting next to you explaining to you why he's wearing the black costume.
Well,
he's like a car. It gets really hot. He needs that energy.
This is one of those cases where there's been a lot of talk about what version this movie would have taken if Zack Snyder got to actually put it in theaters. I really wonder if he intended originally for it to be the black costume, or if he decided because he was being able to do the Snyder cut that he wanted it to be the black costume.
Not sure.
I think he wanted a black costume from the beginning because he kind of planned it out. I want to say I read it that he on purposely made it so that he could film, because the costume is not black when they filmed it, because the costume is blue. I remember reading an article about it that they on purposely made it so that they can color grade it easily to be black after the fact. So he wanted to do the black costume from the beginning. I believe it's the studio that didn't want him to do it.
And I think none of us have a problem with...
What I mean, though, is because we know there was a lot of discussion going on with the studio and that kind of stuff, even when Zack was making the movie originally. Like, it's been well documented that he was frustrated with the constant battles with the studio and that kind of stuff. So I could see him not wanting to film something one way or another. Like, nobody says any comment about it being the black costume or anything like that either, because I think in general it was intended that it could be either. when it actually came out.
I'm not gonna fight at all about the costume being the black costume. Again, from the comics, we have and Lane just said, it's an homage to the Death of Superman thing. You know, in the comics, there is like, okay, he's in the Regenesis chamber. The black costume is like a thing he has to wear while he's in the chamber. Blah 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 blah. It's a cool idea, right? It's a cool idea for the costume. But Kevin, 100% right. The end, he should have been in the regular costume. That doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for him to still be in the black costume. When he does the
he's it's only like 2 days after. He still has to recharge.
Maybe. I mean, he did wear that black costume for a little while in the comics.
At least he didn't have a mullet.
Okay. Hey. Here is one of my biggest WTFs, and I want to see if anybody else agrees.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter. So
not
that he's in it, that's not the WTF, but the way he's used, I even went back. This is one of the parts that I watched, even though I didn't like it, because I just wanted to see if my reaction was different. So he's in 2 scenes, right? Is that correct? I think he's in 2 scenes.
Yeah. But the second scene was supposed to be someone else.
So the first scene is so bizarre because I think that scene works better as a legitimate Martha Kent and Lois Lane scene than an imposter.
Yeah,
because
I remember
when she walks in and goes, well, I lost the mortgage. I got this new place, this little house by the store, blah, blah. It's like, how the F does he know any of that? Like the world is facing annihilation and you're researching Martha Kent's finances.
Well, he's a top military guy, so he has instantaneous access to everybody.
Mind read done. I know.
Oh, well, that's going to be awkward when Lois and she next have a conversation. Hey, thanks for dropping by my apartment in Metropolis. That was really sweet. What are you talking about?
Going to be like, well, who do I need to go beat up now?
Then at the end, when he comes back and he's like, it's time for me to, join the world and be part of this team. It's like, thanks, bro. We could have used you when we were literally facing apocalypse. We could have used your powers, but nice of you to volunteer now.
I just too much fire for him. It was just too much fire.
Well, I just found the use of that character. I didn't mind seeing him, and I think it's a cool addition, although we'll probably never see this team again. But I just found the use of him so bizarre and clanky and just weird.
So the original scene where Lois and Martha are talking, right? When like in the original Justice League, I felt that was a much better scene than the one that we got where it was the Manhunter. Because like you said, Kevin, it's this weird dynamic.
You're not talking about the scene where it's at the Daily Planet, are you?
Yeah. I preferred that.
That's one of the worst scenes. That's like the worst scene in the movie.
That's not even in the movie.
In the first version.
Yeah, in the Justice League version. Yeah.
Why is that bad?
It's a horrible scene. It's like the really bad jokes. That and Batman falling down are the 2 worst scenes in the original Justice League movie.
Well, they cut out the shit part, so.
Well, but again, they didn't cut it out. Those were not filmed by Zack Snyder. Those were the Joss Whedon stuff. That entire scene is one of the Joss Whedon scenes, and I really dislike that scene.
I preferred it in that context because it was Martha there versus it wasn't Martha in this one.
I'm going to guess that was a late addition.
Oh yeah,
of that being Martian Manhunter because it doesn't make a lot.
Well, the conversation. If you watch that conversation, keeping that as Martian Manhunter in your mind, you're going to be going, as I was, what in the F is even happening?
It makes no sense in that context.
We didn't see him at the beginning, right?
So I read a thing that it was supposed to be one of the Green Lantern.
At the end?
At the end that came down.
The second one.
Yes. The first one, I think, that had to be filmed late.
So who was this supposed to be like
John?
John Stewart. John Stewart's supposed to show up at the epilogue when Martian Manhunter showed up. Yeah.
Now, did we see that military guy at the beginning of the film when we saw Superman's cry?
We saw another guy in the MLS.
Yeah, he's in Man of Steel and BVS.
Okay, so I think that would have been a lot better if, like, when you said if somebody heard the cry, if we saw the military guy in the beginning respond to it, right? And you get kind of this maybe a side, like he's in the middle of changing or something after you see him. But yeah,
And I have no problem with him being like, yeah, I've been on this planet for 1,000 years. I'm hiding out. I'm working in the military. That's all fine. Yeah, it's just the Martha thing. The Martha scene's weird.
Yeah, because of like those two, as a character scene, those two have a bond over something that they both lost, but in a different way. It's interesting. That character, Martian Manhunter, or John, if we can call him that, there's no reason for him to go to Lois Lane's apartment and say, you should go back to work. Like that adds no benefit to him or to anyone for any reason. It's just so strange.
At all. Yeah, that was a question for me.
So Aquaman, I think Aquaman got some great scenes. Mera.
Oh God!
Wait, this is a different Mera, right?
No, it's the same.
No, I know it's the same actress, but she has a different accent. She has different hair color.
Yeah,
it's like a different Earth.
She only has different hair color because it's so toned down.
Right.
Yeah,
what's his name? Didn't have hair gel or something but he did an Aquaman.
Volko.
Yeah.
I'm like,
his hair was jacked up.
But Amber Heard is speaking with a British accent in this movie.
I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah. And she's not in the Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because they definitely had an idea of the story they were going to tell in the Aquaman movie, and they do some great job setting up the story they were going to tell in the Aquaman movie. They just evidently hadn't decided on character design or
right.
Was she completely cut from the original version?
No. Isn't she in the scene where Steppenwolf comes to steal the?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But she doesn't have a British accent, right?
I don't
think so.
They do the small water, air chamber for them. It and then Steppenwolf comes and it's the scene is done so quickly.
But it's really quick. Yeah. Again, well, like I said, Aquaman more fleshed out, and there's not a ton. But a little bit more. Mera had more scenes. Again, you get some info dump of, his mother's trident and that he's the king. He should be the ruler. Blah blah blah. And it's all very standard, typical Aquaman stuff that any comic is going to have at the beginning of any issue. So I mean, I didn't feel like that was too overly
Ryan.
What's what I'm trying to say?
Expository.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the epilogues.
No. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Close. We're getting close. Okay. Cyborg. Look, there's weird stuff with Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers and this whole thing. We've talked about it a little bit. Whatever happened, some people think that it's way worse than what Warner Brothers is admitting to. Warner Brothers is kind of like, look, we've been through this. We've got this sorted. There was nothing bad. Just I don't know, just conflict of personalities or what have you.
Warner has been, and just like most of the time these investigations, they've talked about the concluded, they've talked about some actions have been taken, but they're not about to publicly release all the details of the investigation.
Right. He says he's under NDA. Warner Brothers says he's not. So there's weird, again, put all this weirdness aside. Cyborg was done dirty by that original cut.
Way dirty.
Yeah.
They cut so much of his story out of there, so much of the plot around that character.
Okay, Justice League, the first one, didn't really even have a story for Cyborg.
No, he's just kind of there.
Well, it was like, remember that video we showed you of his dad in the mother box, and then here's the result, and then he's Cyborg, and now we're going.
Yeah.
So for me, and again, this has to do with the difference between a 4-hour movie and a 2 hours or less movie. I don't even remember how long the first one was. But I kind of feel like somebody at an executive level basically made the call, we're going to focus on the Trinity.
Yeah, which makes sense.
And that's a very easy call to understand somebody making. And unfortunately, what that means, they cut all sorts of character development for everybody who is not a member of the Trinity.
Yeah, I think you can have it just be Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. You just don't have the other characters in it. Like,
Well,
why are they in it if
I-
you're not going to have them in the movie?
That scene
Well,
where they're all
I don't
together.
disagree, but that's a problem a lot of these team ensembles can have. Like if you look at the X-Men movies, a lot of it is always focused on Wolverine when Wolverine was in the movies and like that kind of
course.
stuff. Like it,
But with X-Men, there's a expectation that these characters are sort of in the background. You know, even with Avengers, they gave Black Widow.
oh no,
Hawkeye.
there in the Marvel movies, they have done a great job, and like you will see these things online of people will sit there and figure out how much time each character was actually in the
Mhm.
movie, and it's
Yeah.
always really close between all the characters, which makes you go, somebody was paying attention to this
Mhm.
when making the movie.
Well, what I found the Avengers did, and they do a little bit in this, is they're really good at taking two characters and putting them together, and the two characters have a scene, so it's not overly stuffed with multiple characters kind of fighting for screen time. Maybe the only thing you get in the first Avengers, really, other than the big fight scenes, is the Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America when they're like coming down from the Quinjet or what Quinjet? What's the thing? What's the Avengers thing?
Quinjet.
Javelin? No, that's Justice League. What the hell do they call it?
Quinjet is the Avengers.
It's Quinjet.
Quinjet.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I think I was thinking of the Blackbird. That's the X-Men one.
Justice League
But
has a
most
plane.
of the scenes are really just like two characters talking, and this had more of that as well, so you can flesh out just with a simple conversation. But I feel like, they're just what's going to get cut is not the action. What's going to get cut is the backstory and dialogue.
Yeah.
And
They just cut the wrong stuff.
Well,
like with BVS, they cut the plot, and that
Yeah.
is a problem.
Yeah.
So with this, it's like, well, we're going to cut
Nothing.
the character development and the motivation for these characters working together
Yeah.
in the original version.
Oh,
So
in the
you're
original
like,
Well,
yeah, why?
the scene where they're all kind of are talking around with it, with Bruce, Diana,
Yeah.
Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman, and they talk about there's 6 of us, right? Because Superman's not there, right? It feels like they're more like what what Charlie said that the studio was doing with they were focusing on the Trinity, and I'm like, but this feels like they were focusing on the Justice League, like the actual team, like not any one person has like, and that scene made it really feel like this was a Justice League movie, because by the time we got there, you've had a little more of Barry Allen's backstory. You've had the amazing addition of all of Cyborg stuff, right?
Yeah,
so and Aquaman had more stuff, so it was like at that point you were like, okay, I feel like I've gotten enough of all of these characters and they're all together that I just want to see the team.
Yeah, I have to assume Aquaman maybe got the least because Aquaman was already being filmed. They knew the movie was coming. So they're like, yeah, we can introduce him and then we can, he'll have his own movie. Flash and Cyborg are down the road. We don't know when. It never happens. So
I feel like Aquaman still got scenes, but I felt like all of those scenes weren't really about building up his role in the Justice League. It was setting up the state of things for the Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
Like every single one of his scenes just felt like this is another lead in to a solo movie.
Well, but that's where we're going to get more character development, right?
I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that's what that felt like, where they knew at least a rough idea of the story they were planning to tell at this point. So this was more the lead in for that.
Charlie, do you think that it was potentially do you think there was other stuff filmed pre-movie, and Zack, since this movie's already come out, decided, let's not make the movie 4.5 hours?
No. At this point, I kind of feel like Zack would have been.
I'm putting in everything I want to put in. Screw you guys.
I mean, at this point, with HBO Max, with the reality of the way this was being released, most of the time when it comes to like a movie going to theaters, runtime is a concern, and that's where a lot of the cutting comes in. trying to get it to a certain runtime that they needed at for the theatrical release. This had no such limitation on it. So I don't know that there was much cut from this movie. I would be surprised if anything felt like it was cut for any reason other than the fact that the scene just didn't work for Zack, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't see why anything would have been cut that he didn't want out. I'm sure there's more footage because there always is, but I'm gonna guess
Can't
he
be
put in
much
everything
more.
he wanted. Yeah.
Now, did you guys like Zack Snyder's humor that was put in this film? Because I remember when we talked about Justice League before, we said there was a lot of forced humor that we did not care for.
And that's what Scott was saying. I think earlier, Scott, I think it was you. The humor fits more with the tone. The Flash, it's kind of all more on him, so it makes that character a little more unique. But they do lighten everyone by the end. So I think the humor mostly works. Not every joke lands,
No.
Ryan Choi has got some. Obviously, he's completely in this movie, who was cut out entirely. And he's got a couple jokey lines, and that's I think that fits the Atom, right? That the Atom is not a comedic character, but the Atom being a little bit more lighthearted is a perfectly fine take. And I like the addition of him. I think killing Cyborg's dad, I'm surprised, but maybe not. But I would not have figured they'd go that route, because he survives the original one, if I'm not mistaken. He's still alive at the end of the original cut.
Yep.
And
so that's something where, again, I probably would go the other way with that. I don't know that killing him's the right move. It made sense for the plot, but it is sort of like, dude could have just thrown that box in there to superheat it anyway. He didn't have to sacrifice himself to do it.
Well, even beyond that, I mean, this is just my trying to think of the best way to put this. The way I had no problem with the fact that they sacrificed him. I thought it was a little bit of a leap to be like, okay, somehow he knows that the box would be hard to track and knows they could track it if he, there was an odd jump there where somehow he had information that was not actually communicated to him.
Yeah.
I think Zack Snyder just does a shitty job when it comes to killing off fathers. I mean, he had to go in the room to turn it on. I'm like, that's a lab violation in the first place. The thing would be outside. It's like, or is he the next Dr. Manhattan? Who knows?
Yeah.
But
there's a possibility he comes back as part of the mother box or something. But in current day, even in the middle of super desolate Russian wasteland, a massive dome appearing over a former nuclear power plant probably would have caught the eye of someone very quickly.
Yeah. Nah.
And they I'm sure Batman's 6 satellites would have been able to track that down. So it probably didn't need to happen that way.
Barry could have ran around the planet a couple times and found it.
And found it. Yeah. Those are the options.
It was. I didn't think Batman was very smart in this movie. He wasn't the Batman that we all know.
I felt Alfred was the smart one.
Yeah, Batman didn't seem like Batman to me.
I really like this version of Alfred.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Alfred was fantastic. But Batman wasn't Batman.
Well, talking about funny lines, he's got some great lines in this. And But Alfred's one of those roles that I think they just nail in every movie. Alfred's every movie or TV show. Alfred's always such a great character. And I like the line where Bruce is like, "Oh yeah, I work for him." That cracked me up.
Well, I loved it when he said Mr. Kent or Master Kent. I was like, yes, because that's how he would say it.
Yeah. Or he's harassing Wonder Woman about how she's making the tea. I don't know. Again, that was a funny scene. Yeah. It was a funny scene, and it worked, especially with that character. With him, he'd be like, Don't fuck up my tea, Wonder Woman. Like this is my house. I'm making the tea here. We've done this for generations. Like,
I also love the scene. I also love the scene when all the members of the Justice League walk in for the first time, and he kind of just looks at them all walking by, and he goes, "I gotta make some tea, but I don't know if I have enough mugs for everybody."
Yeah. So the big fight, the big ending fight, and unless something crazy happens here, we're going to clock in well under the movie. So that's Kevin and Scott are happy.
I'm very disappointed.
Well, no,
you
Bryce.
haven't said anything, Toby.
We haven't gotten to the epilogues yet. And there's stuff that's probably going to pop up again that people are like, we want to talk about
stuff.
this.
I got Patreon.
But Toby,
read, so.
those super long episodes were all of us sitting together, hanging out, and way earlier in the night.
It's so different.
It gets to be a little bit of screen exhaustion.
By now, Zooming is just such a pain in the ass. I'd much rather see you guys with a mask on in front of a mic.
I'm saying I'm just disappointed overall over everything. Like the lack of us not doing an 8-hour podcast. The fact that we're not seeing each other.
No, we're going to talk about it more, so it'll be broken up in parts.
So Ryan, what about the ending fight?
So when I watched it the second time, I made a little joke on Twitter. I was like, Batman when talking about the Joker, we can't kill him. If we kill him, we become him. We become just as bad as the Joker. Batman, when talking about parademons, kill them all. Dude, Batman kills a fuckload of parademons in this movie. Straight up, guns, blasting their heads off, just massacring parademons left and right. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay with this. This is okay.
Yeah,
like, he just slaughters them.
But parademons are like robots. You can just kill them. They're just,
Yeah, sure.
They don't have backstories. They don't have families at home.
They are like
they did. They all did, right? That's the story that's how they become parademons is by the Earths they've taken over or the planet.
Yeah. So these are just like random dudes.
Just substitute the term parademon with flying zombie, and it's all okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Batman. So again, they cut out that like random Eastern European family, but
I cut out the truck and Superman carrying the building. Come on!
I did like that scene of Superman carrying that building. That was a pretty good scene. I don't need. Again, this is like totally abandoned area, so it's okay if they don't have any. Someone's phone ringing. So I don't mind that they had a it's a totally abandoned thing. We can just go crazy. That's fine. But that
explanation was perfect. They're standing when Steppenwolf's standing there. He's like, the radiation here will be perfect, and I'm like,
need the power.
I need the power, and I'm like, that works completely. Like,
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no problem.
I didn't need.
It's basically the same as the first one. Yeah, but this is like just completely uninhabited. So that's fine. So they can just damage can be.
The nice thing is it doesn't take Superman out of the fight. And I think that was a big problem with the first Steppenwolf fight in the original cut, is that Superman gets pulled away from the fight and then comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where this is, he's there for the fight, and it's a Cyborg that's the one that needs to break it, right?
Yeah.
So there was one thing that I missed from the final fight, and it's not the family, it's not the truck, it's not even the building. There was a line in the original cut where it was clear that Batman was planning to sacrifice himself. That he had come up with this plan with the Batmobile and all that, and it was his intention to lure all the parademons away so they could go fight Steppenwolf directly.
I kind of remember that,
Yeah, that was a good scene.
I kind of wish that Batman Death Wish thing was still in there. I kind of like that storyline of his.
Yeah.
Hey, here's my pitch for something I would add to that final fight. For 10 seconds after I said the movie's too long, here's something I would add that's 10 seconds long. Because the one thing that I wish, I didn't mind even the parademons being blown away. What I really didn't like was the beheading of Steppenwolf.
And
I think it.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Toby, tell.
Yeah, well, for the characters they flat out straight up murdered Steppenwolf. While it looked cool, It was
Right.
just like, well,
Not
hold on.
cool.
But here's my
See?
pitch, Toby. Here's my pitch. Wonder Woman raises the sword because she's the warrior of the group. She raises the sword, ready to execute him, and Superman stops her. 10 seconds. That's all you need. Not even dialogue. He doesn't. Then they throw him through the boom tube.
They kick his
But
body
you don't
through the
get
boot.
that cool scene where a head just gets thrown in, and what's his face steps on it, and then they get to look all mad at each other. It did set up a really cool scene, but I was like, wait a minute, they straight up murdered Steppenwolf.
Right.
So for me,
Chop this dude's
it
head off.
actually starts a little bit before that. Like the scene where Superman heat visions off basically
Yeah.
one of the horn areas and stuff like that. Like, again, it just brings in this level of sort of viciousness that I'm not accustomed to seeing in these characters.
Right. Yeah.
Like, doing that didn't disarm him in some way or do something where, like, there was a reason to do that other than just being vicious to Steppenwolf.
And Charlie, my point with all of that was you hear all the argument from Man of Steel, and we're not going to reopen this box. Don't worry, Ryan.
Yeah.
But of all the killing the Zod, well, it's when he was first Superman, this is how he learns, and he adopts that no killing code after that. Well, here's the perfect opportunity to show that character has grown. Of course, the Amazon is going to try to finish off this opponent permanently. Of course she is. But here's the moment he steps in and stops it. And now they're on their way to being superheroes instead of just savages. That's all I wanted to see.
Yeah. And I generally hate killing villains at the end of movies in almost every situation, because obviously you can bring anyone back anytime you want. But it does kind of like, well, I guess you just killed that character for some reason.
It was kind of, for me, it was kind of one of those, okay, so, like, yes, it was violent that Superman cut off his horn thing. But I, like, for what was going on in the scene at the time, I was like, okay, that works. But then it's like adding insult to injury when you just chop his head off, right? Like, okay, like, you already chopped one of his, like, yeah, it was, I think, yeah, Kevin, you're right. That would have been, and
you don't even need to stop all the action. I'm talking about a wordless moment.
Yeah.
And then you throw him through the boom tube, tell Darkseid, come and get some if you want it, and the rest of the movie plays as it did.
Darkseid could kill him.
Right, sure. Sure,
I mean,
right in front of them.
They could have just pinned him
Yeah.
on the floor, holding his head with one's sword against his neck, doing the look, toss him over, and Darkseid steps on his head, right? That would have worked better in my head.
No. They should have restrained Steppenwolf and done the Zeta beams right. And just have Darkseid take him out then.
Oh, the Omega beam.
Yeah.
I was like,
Beam.
wait,
Sorry, not Zeta beams.
The
Omega
Zeta
beams.
Yeah, I
beam.
was like,
Where's
yeah,
Adam
like-
Strange?
Where
Yeah.
was, yeah,
I
was
didn't know
like,
Adam
what?
Strange was
Did
in
I
this.
miss something in this movie?
Omega beam. You're right. My
Yeah,
brain
yeah.
jumped beams.
If they threw him in, the boom tube closes, and then Darkseid kills him, fine.
yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I won't tolerate failure.
Yeah.
And then your bad guy's even more of a bad guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And your heroes are heroic. I know it's a shocking concept sometimes, but
And
not
Steppenwolf is
realistic,
a
man.
solid B-level villain, not A level. Or C.
have we arrived at your scene?
Lane just brought this up. Yeah, Crispus Allen gets name dropped in the scene with Gordon. I actually like that scene where Gordon's like, they're like, here's some notes, and he's like, yeah, and he throws it in the trash.
Oh, his
and just walks
messages,
away.
his phone messages, yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty funny scene.
You know what? It stands out now that you go, why would you get such a good actor as J.K. Simmons for such a throwaway nothing role?
Exactly.
But I think it was to set him up as Gordon in that Affleck Batman movie.
Yeah.
Without that happening, it just looks really weird to even have him in this.
Yeah, but having Crispus Allen again, that's a okay. It's a connection to something. Again, they could have just grabbed the name, and there'll never be payoff for that.
Right.
But yeah.
Who's Crispus Allen again?
Spectre,
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
one of the he
He
Well, he
he's had
became
multiple
Spectre
iterations,
at
right?
the end of Gotham Central.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
He was
like-
just a cop before that, but he was one of the Spectre
but he was
hosts.
a main character in Gotham Central prior to being turned into the Spectre.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
like
It's
either
been
way,
so
he's
long since
got
I read Gotham Central, I need to reread that.
good, rich history within Gotham PD.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if any of that's still in continuity with the current stuff. I don't even know.
Continuity? What is that?
Yeah, I'm sure there may be random stuff we'll jump back and forth with if we remember it. But those, yeah. So that 20-minute epilogue.
The Return of the King outro.
Yeah. I other than the nightmare stuff, I'm not sure that I have I mean, it was just a cool wrap up. The Martian Manhunter stuff Kevin doesn't like, but the nightmare.
Well, no, well, the end of him showing up is weird too, but the weirder one is the Marfa one. That's just like really weird.
Yeah. The first part with Martian Manhunter.
And then I'm just going to echo what Kevin said earlier, and that's the thing I said to you when I first called you, Ryan. Was I don't mind Superman having a black costume without any explanation, because us comic book people know what it's for or what it's homaging. But that very last shot of Superman in normal clothes doing the Superman thing, I would have liked to seen classic Superman, blue and red.
Yeah, he's running right into the alley that you're like, you got it set up so perfectly.
And then it's just like a big prick tease. It's just like, oh, he's going to do it. Oh.
Yeah, that one was...
It's only 2 days. He's still getting energy. Damn it.
Again, I thought the way we saw it was so unique. I thought I would have liked to see them do something a little bit more unique with the epilogues, but I don't know if they would have gotten the viewers they wanted to, if they would have released them like separately.
Hold on. Scott, more unique than the Nightmare epilogue? Because that's pretty damn unique, I think.
No, I thought the way that it's not released theatrical, it's on a platform.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of views. If you could have found some way to keep releasing epilogues as it like throughout a week, it would have been interesting to me. Like I would have tuned back into HBO Max to watch, look, I'd already sat through 3.5 hours before the epilogue started. So, but it would have been interesting to do something a little bit different, because it did seem a little hectic and jumbled at the end. Just, oh yeah, by the way, this is what might have happened 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Not that I didn't like any of them, except for the aforementioned.
So 2 things in regards to that. Initially, well, not initially, but there was a lot of chatter about them releasing it in multiple parts, that they weren't going to put out the full movie all at once. And then at some point they scrapped that plan and just went out and put the movie out all at once. One thing I found interesting is, as I would go back to sort of the Snyder cut on HBO Max, they kept adding additional bonus features. Like day of release, it was just a trailer, and then like day or two later, it was trailer plus introduction by Zack Snyder, and then day or two later, it was trailer this and a documentary on Black Suit Superman or whatnot. Like it was.
I'll have to go look. I didn't see that stuff. Let's go look at them. That nightmare scene, holy crap! I thought it was fantastic. It was so neat. I did. There was Zack Snyder had multiple interviews about kind of what he wanted to do going forward, and it's pretty clear. I mean, when you watch that nightmare scene now, especially after some of the context of BVS, but now that we know more about it, I was trying to see if I could find out what he was.
Now, without going further with Zach's vision on this, just that scene alone, like without further movies, I have to say the one thing that bothered me was like, just leave Superman alone for a bit. We just got him back. He's finally Superman. I don't want to see this other Superman. Like, just leave him alone. Like if
1,000,000% agreement with Toby. 1,000,000%.
Yeah, it's like we finally got the Superman we want. Just like leave him alone for maybe a movie or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5.
Well, so what I had said was, so what Zack Snyder says is that after the events of the first movie, Darkseid comes to Earth, Lex Luthor teams up with the villain, and then while Superman's going to take down Darkseid, Batman is supposed to protect Lex Luthor, or sorry, Batman's supposed to protect Lois Lane, and then he fails, and that's why Lois gets killed. Superman succumbs to the anti-life equation. His grief he's overtaken, and then that's how he gets, that's how Superman becomes, is working for Darkseid. Yeah, and then they end up. But to me, like, that's two movies. I thought, they could even start this differently. They could just have the first part of it be the first movie be Superman with I'm sorry, not Superman, Lex with like the Legion of Doom, and then they could just completely end with the death of Lois. He's taken over by the anti-life equation, and then after that they have the Nightmare universe. Like, I thought that would have been really cool. I don't know that I need Darkseid in the second movie coming in yet. I mean, I feel like, Superman gets taken over by the anti-life equation, and Darkseid's like, and now we're here, and I've got my guy already on Earth. This is great. But I love the little, like, Injustice kind of ragtag group of people, post-apocalyptic world. I'm totally fine with that. But what I would have preferred is basically in the entire second movie, if any of this ends up happening, Superman's good until the very, very end, right? When Lois dies, and then Superman is a pawn of Darkseid's for a good chunk of the third movie, and then they save him and free to kick his ass the rest of it. But I would love I mean, obviously this post-credit scene with Luthor and Deathstroke was, Kevin, again, to set up the Batman movie, whereas in the original Justice League version, it was set up a second Justice League movie with the Legion of Doom, and I would prefer that as opposed to because that just makes sense. So that would be I'd love that if they did a second Justice League movie with the Legion, with Lex, because they could have a ton of villains in there.
The only way I would sign off on the Superman being evil, like my opinion carries some weight on this, but the only way I would be cool with Superman being evil and them having to fight him again is if you got to see him fight Shazam.
Oh, that'd be cool.
In the movie continuity.
That'd be great.
Let's do it. But if it's the Justice League trying to restrain an out of control evil Superman, I'm just like, no, come on.
Yeah, look, I'm just not interested in that, especially after the long setup for Superman, right? However, I am very interested in that nightmare world for everything else. Like, I kind of I do like the
what about a second movie where Superman is good throughout the entire thing? He's corrupted at the very end, but no action is actually no action happens.
I'll be honest. I mean, even though they already set it up this way, I'd be very disappointed because I'm like, leave it be, because you already set him up as a bad guy in ways for BVS, and you already killed him off. I don't know. I just feel like it's been done. Move on, do something else, right? But the ragtag nightmare world, I'm very interested in, just because it's stuff like we see in Elseworld comics or episodes of the cartoon, like in a movie format. I feel like that was very ballsy to do, because that's not something we've seen. Like, even like with all the Marvel stuff, it's all, I mean, look, it's loosely based on the original source material, but they didn't take it to the next level, right? This is like Zack Snyder going, if I have full control, this is what I would do. And it's completely new. And you don't really know what's going on.
And this isn't to sort of take away from the nightmare world. I do agree that it echoes a lot of the Injustice and that kind of stuff, but especially the idea of Superman working for Darkseid or working with Darkseid. I always think back to a two-parter from Superman the Animated Series, which I think may have been the last two episodes of that show, where Superman was off in space, got grabbed by Darkseid, brainwashed, and was a member of Darkseid's army invading Earth and stuff. And it's through that two-parter where you find out exactly what happened to Superman, and sort of the key to getting him back was very much through Lois and Supergirl and like the characters reaching him, even though he had gone through the granny goodness conditioning and all that. I absolutely loved that two-parter. I think I would rather see a movie set in the nightmare world that fills in what happened than necessarily seeing it built up through a movie and then we're in the nightmare world for the next movie. Like,
well,
I agree with you that I would rather have a second movie that's just all Legion of Doom and can focus on that. I don't need a side thing where Batman's off trying to protect Lois. Like, I feel like, especially when you're dealing with events that the intention was to mess with timelines, you don't need to tell it linearly, and they're not telling it linearly. So I don't need the movie to tell it linearly.
Well, so his pitch for the second Justice League movie is Darkseid comes, teams up with Luthor, they kill Lois, Superman goes evil, the entire nightmare world happens. This is all one movie.
So it's a 6-hour film. Got it.
It ends, Kevin, and now maybe I'm going to get you back here, okay? Maybe
I'm pretty far out to sea right now.
Maybe
we're
going to wheel you back in here. It ends with them, this group, ragtag group of people going in. What are they doing? They're going into Gotham to try to steal a mother box. Why? Because they have to get it back to the Batcave in order to use it to power the cosmic treadmill to return Flash back in time. Getting you back a little bit.
That's still a lot of work to get to the cosmic treadmill,
and that is one movie.
Yeah.
That's like killing Lois and Superman becoming evil is like the end of a movie. This is like a third of the way into it. But okay, that's a little much for me.
But this is the thing that always tweaks my brain with something like this, and that's we've already seen the Flash travel back.
Yeah.
And
well, a little bit. He traveled back like a blip, right?
Well, in BVS.
Oh yeah. So
that's the message from Flash, which doesn't actually avert the nightmare timeline.
Right. So this is about him going back further and trying to, like, it's like a Back to the Future 2 sort of thing where he's like they go back.
In the original cut, it was used to signify that he needed to get Lois to bring Superman back from his state after he was, reborn. Right.
He basically creates an alternate universe where Lois doesn't die. Batman sacrifices himself. So this is third movie. Superman doesn't succumb to the anti-life equation. It's Aquaman leading the forces of Atlantis, Diana leading the forces of the Themyscira, Superman and Flash leading the forces of humans against Darkseid in a giant war. So all the armies of Earth with the Atlanteans and the Themyscirians.
So it's the second Golden Age?
Amazons. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the exact same as the first one. Right. So, yeah.
Hey, this is not a story point, but did you guys see the article? I think it was on IndieWire about filming that apocalypse scene or that nightmare.
No.
So, because that's all new. Right. Affleck and Jared Leto weren't even together. Like one of them was in London being directed via long distance.
That's funny.
And then it was all cut together. And same with that Martian Manhunter scene. You can just look at Ben Affleck. I mean, he's like 20 pounds lighter in those last two scenes and in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So Snyder felt strongly enough, even though the movies aren't going forward, he felt strongly enough about that epilogue to actually go and film it, which is interesting since it's not leading to anything.
Well, yet.
Right. Okay. Fair.
The great hold on, let me you talk for a second. Let me get the quote here from
I just want to go back to my point. Was I thought it was very ballsy and interesting because you've never seen that in a movie before where a team has Deathstroke, Joker in live action working together, even if they don't like each other. We've seen it in comics, we've seen it in Elseworlds, we've seen it in cartoon movies, we've seen it in cartoon episodes, but on a live action level, I was like, this is cool. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah,
So from the great Craig P. Anderson on the Facebook group, he said, "As a former corporate exec, I can assure you, if they see money in more Snyderverse, it will happen."
yeah.
So, look, I'm not joking. I went from, I really don't want to see Snyder's version. He kind of did his thing. It doesn't really click with the general audience. We're done. To the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. Oh, what the hell are people talking about?
Oh yeah, you were really cock about it at the point.
To holy shit, maybe there is some to this, but it's never going to see the light of day. To holy shit, they're giving him $70 million to finish his movie. This is going to be a nightmare. To it's coming out. It's happening. It happened. It's out. It's really fucking good. I want more. Like I mean, it's such a crazy series of events that I never would have, never in a million years.
But to Craig's point, we don't know what the monetization of this is.
Yeah.
There's no way, and there's no way you can, if you're WB, or AT&T, there's no way you can equate, well, this many people got HBO Max specifically because of the Snyder Cut, therefore the Snyder Cut is worth this money to us.
But can you say that about Netflix or any of these? I mean, they have numbers.
They can track who the new people are that signed up and what they watched.
But my point being, to go forward, you're talking about him making another one for a theatrical release. And is it going to translate? The people who would watch at home when it's on your platform are going to go to the theater?
Based after the episodic version, I would kill for a 12-part Justice League miniseries. There's your two
at
movies.
Home?
Yeah, why not?
No, would you rather see it at home than a theatrical, quote unquote, real movie?
They can do both, right? This is going to hit the theater. They do an 8-hour, 10-hour, 8-hour long episodes. There's 2 more 4-hour movies. Dump them in the theater if you want to, split them up or something like that. I mean, I really think this is the future of this stuff. Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? Loki, WandaVision.
We'll talk again after the movie. We'll talk again after the David Ayer cut.
Well, they flat out said that is not happening.
I know, which is bizarre because that exists. You wouldn't have to spend money to shoot it. That's what's so weird. That's a thing that they have.
Well, as expected, if you search any of the Snyder Cut hashtags, people are like, "We got our thing. Now fucking give us more."
Right.
And they're like, Warner Brothers, you're screwing us again. We made this thing huge. Now we want the rest. And these interviews come out with the people at Warner Brothers that are like, yeah, no, nothing else is happening. This is it. This is the only thing. We told you it was the only thing. And they're like, and the audience is still like, no, you said yes to us once. You'll say yes to us again.
Right.
So this is a dangerous can of worms.
Right. Of course it is. But 2 years ago, if you had told me HBO is going to stream the direct or the quote unquote fill in the name cut of one of these two movies in 2021, I would have bet you $100 it would be Suicide Squad, because I'd say they just slap the new titles on it.
Yeah.
It's already in the can, put some new music, whatever you need to do, and you're done.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that original ending is in there though, with the Boom Tomb stuff. I don't know if that actually exists.
For Suicide Squad?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because it ends. It's supposed to be a lead in the Justice League, right? Isn't
right?
So I don't know if that ending exists, but I know the beginning, and I know this for a fact because I have an actual friend that's seen a different version. The beginning is completely different.
Well, isn't it not? Is it what's her face? It's not Steppen. Who's the villain in it? It's not Enchantress, right? Isn't it?
Well,
is it not Steppenwolf?
Boom Tube, doesn't she? That's the original,
is that what it is?
That's the original. At least that's what I remember. That's the original proposal.
Okay.
But I said
there were test screenings of the Ayer cut, what we're calling the Ayer cut. So it's a finished movie in some form that you could show it to an audience.
Yeah.
Going back
some
to the
test
nightmare
screenings can still be very early into the
but I think my point was the reason I would have bet that is because it wouldn't have taken $70 million to finish the Ayer cut.
Sorry, go ahead, Brooke.
Oh, I think Zack Snyder has, at least for me, has to put something in the movie that just completely turns me off. At least one line. Um, in BVS, it's the Martha line. I just there's no way around that. Um, in this one, I was really loving that nightmare scene until the reach around comment, and I was like, I don't have enough context of their relationship to understand what level that is at, and it doesn't seem funny to me, and it's not like I was just like, what? And so it kind of soured my viewing towards the end.
I don't say that again.
When Joker says, "Who's going to be there to give you a reach around?"
Okay. I totally missed. I did not hear you say Joker. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Whatever. I mean, it's just Joker
to me. It was.
Why?
I haven't had this
What an
Leto
odd
Joker,
thing to.
this Leto Joker and Ben Affleck Batman. I haven't seen their relationship that much to have that be a joke or have that be something that it works as a line in the movie. So for me,
It's just Joker.
That was just like, what?
It's just Joker being weird. Like, it didn't bother me at all. I didn't think about that at all.
Everybody knows about the Joker Batman history at this point, though.
Yeah.
No, we understand. Like, I understand the Joker Batman history as a whole, but it's the relationship that this Joker and this Batman have is what's not been established completely. So for me, it was just I just did not care for that.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, to me, that didn't seem atypical at all. Like, especially talking about the history with Jason Todd or Dick Grayson, depending on what they ended up going with in the end. But like that kind of stuff doesn't bother me at all because, in a way, the Joker Batman relationship is always pretty consistent, regardless of the version I look at.
Yep.
Yeah. I just don't. Tone wise, I just don't think that was a good choice of line of dialogue. Like the rest of it was great. Like him egging him on with the Robins and all that. Like that stuff was amazing. And then you just kind of have this line in there that's just like, huh?
Yeah,
like,
just
like
him being weird.
Well, it just wasn't. It really just kind of just like took the wind. It like I was like, what's going on? Like it literally sucked the wind out of my sails at the end, and I was like, well, at least Zack Snyder's consistent in some things.
What an incredibly weird thing to have so much feeling about.
Well,
it's just a random line.
So the thing is Zack Snyder's done this in all of the movies. All of the movies that he's done, Man of Steel, BVS, and now Justice League, is that there's something that just takes the wind out of it. In Man of Steel, one of the biggest things was how Jonathan Kent died. It was just, huh?
Yeah, I mean, every movie, everything can have just a thing you don't like. It's just
but like Zack
this is so
really consistent.
like the Jonathan Kent thing. I get from a. Although I disagree, I understand the Martha thing. Such nothing. This makes no sense. But anyway, we're going to read our Patreon people. We're going to read Patreon reviews. See what they say.
I have to say one thing about the Joker Batman scene.
Sure.
And that's just because I knew a little too much because they talked about how getting people back together and stuff was a little weird because they had to like hold some of the costumes back together with like tape and stuff. Because they were kind of falling apart with the way they were stored and stuff 3 years later. So I kept staring at Batman's cowl because it didn't fit him quite the way that it does in everything else. I'm like, and this is where the tape comes in. And I get it now.
Well, I like Barry's mustache. Just
yeah. Well, Ben Affleck did lose a few pounds of muscle between filmings. Alpan23, these are all from our Patreon, says, I absolutely love the Snyder Cut. It was everything I expected it to be and more, gritty and majestic with multi-dimensional characters. The last scene with the Joker and Batman was incredible. This movie deserves a sequel. It would be great to get your thoughts on how likely you think that is. And I guess that's actually, I mean, that is a good point. We were talking about it, of how much we want it. How much do you think, like, it's possible? Because I'm going to go pretty 50-50 at this point. Even with the comments from Warner Brothers, I think if Snyder wants to do it, I think they would do it. There's a lot on the docket right now. They don't need it. They have a ton of other movies planned.
Well, I'm worried. Like Snyder went through a lot of stuff to get this done. He might just be done himself, right?
Well, that's what he said. He's like, I'm done with the superhero stuff, right? But if he's like, you know what? No. The reaction's been great. The fan reaction's been great. It's successful for Warner Brothers. If it opens in the theater and it actually does well, if it brings in some money, I'm going to go a pretty solid 50-50. I think it is. Now, I'm going to go like 51-49 that it happens. I think it's more likely than not. Not by much, but I think I would have said 95-5 no last week before I saw it. But now I'm convinced, and I think there's a very small chance, but I think there's a chance nonetheless.
See, I'm kind of the exact opposite of you.
49-51.
Kind of. And what it hinges on is the question of the only way I could see Zack Snyder being like, maybe I'm not done with this, is if the studio 100% said, we'll give you complete control, we won't interfere at all, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And that would kind of have to be the agreement. And I'm not sure that I believe that they would give him that level of control.
Well, I think,
but if it's all time travel in future world, then what does it matter? It's something that, like, they can it just wipes away at the end.
That's
right?
the thing, though, is there's no Kevin Feige for the DC movie universe right now, so there's no one to say.
There kind of is now.
Yeah.
Who is it now? What's their name?
Isn't it?
Yeah, I forget their
Walter
name.
Something or other.
Anyway, they don't have that. I mean, in such a public way, right? We haven't seen it. Like, Aquaman was amazing, Wonder Woman was amazing, right? So you have kind of these visions that are based on Zack Snyder's vision that have come out, that have taken that and gone leaps and bounds. Not only do you have Shazam, closing, like, being something that can get families and younger generations pulled into a little bit of a darker universe. But I think that, it would be fantastic to have this is just a Zack Snyder's multiverse of, the movie universe. That's fine. Like, go for it. It's great. But not having that person that's, spearheading that and at the front lines going, this is we have a vision and we're working it out and you're going to see it and it's going to roll out. That's where I think it's hard to say whether they'll do it or not.
I don't know. The back and forth I have a little bit on this is the same way that I kind of feel about some particular creators in comics and that kind of stuff. Like, I have a lot of respect for, like, let's take Alan Moore, for example. Like, he's done some amazing things for Batman and, like, a lot of this other stuff. At the same time, I wouldn't necessarily want to bring him back if he could do whatever he wanted to with whatever character he chose to write. Like there's a certain give and take. Even like Frank Miller to a degree. Like, there's a lot of respect for his work. There's a lot of ways he's pushed the boundaries. But I don't see, especially like within a movie universe, like there are certain choices that Zack Snyder wanted to make that they absolutely pushed back on and did not even make it into the Snyder Cut. Like, he's been on the record of saying that he wanted there to be a relationship between Bruce Wayne and Lois to basically have a little bit of a conflict between even the idea of bringing back Superman, because it would mean bringing back the other person Lois was in love with. And that was supposed to be one of those big sort of character arc points, even in like the movies going forward, with sort of the Bruce being in charge with protecting Lois and that kind of thing. So, like, I don't necessarily think that. I think we're a lot closer to the studio potentially being willing to say, okay, we will give you control, but I still think they wouldn't want to give up that level of control over all the characters.
Yeah, they're gonna have their own side characters do their own thing. If there's no plan for a Justice League, though, again, I don't see why they can't, like I said, just have this be sort of its own little split side timeline that just gets reset at the end of the movie. You're talking about Walter Hamada, who's who's the president of DC Films. I was looking for the interview that I was reading, the one from Variety. Yeah, it's Ann Sarnoff, who's the Warner Media Studio CEO. So they're like Disney, like everything. Does Hamada have quite the same? I mean, the Snyder Cut people hate him because of his role in everything post Justice League. It's tough to see if he's got the same level of commitment from the creators, and if he's got the same vision that someone like Feige does. But I don't know. I will say the last couple of years have been great. I mean, post Justice League, I feel like they've really got a lot of the stuff on track. Aquaman was good. Shazam was good. All the upcoming stuff looks good. Yeah, Wonder Woman 84 wasn't the best, but it's still a fun movie. I mean, some people don't like it.
We had Wonder Woman after Justice League too.
Well,
no, Wonder Woman is before Justice League.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's before BVS.
And it was after BVS, but before Justice League.
Okay.
But like, even that being said, a lot of the direction they've been going is still giving freedom to do their own things, like with the Joker movie, and like the upcoming Batman movie doesn't look like it's sort of tied into any other projects going on, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, they said there's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
So.
But that being said, that article I think you're referencing that was earlier today, there were some statements talking about how they want things to be a little bit closer in terms of not just between like the movies, but between the movies and TV and even potentially like video games, that kind of stuff. They seem much more open to the idea of what little Easter eggs and how can we connect these in different ways that sound amazing in some ways. And like, especially when you look at everything that's been sort of talked about for the Flash movie absolutely feels like it's connected more than just.
Yeah. But they've Crisis on CW really set the stage for this because they brought in Flash there, and I hope they realize that just because we have a version of a character in the movie, this is the problem that these guys had before. They're like, oh, we can't do a Batman thing because we're doing this other Batman thing. Yeah. Only one Batman thing can exist. No, that's not how this works.
You know how many Bonds there have been?
But not just that, but like you can have a TV show and a movie. But this seems like we're gonna deal with more HBO Max, and those are gonna be like the GCPD show that's directly tied in with the Batman movie. It's going to be the same universe, same actors.
Coming out for the Suicide Squad.
Peacekeeper for Suicide Squad, exactly.
We've also haven't really heard any news on the New Gods, and what they're doing with that. In that, because they announced that before
I can't
COVID.
imagine it would be the same as this, but it could maybe be in the same universe.
Could be.
Rama says it could have been 3 hours. The Lois and Manhunter stuff could have been cut. The Apocalypse scenes could have been cut. Deathstroke and most of the Aquaman scenes. Again, Aquaman's mostly setting up Aquaman, and the others, they could have been cut. But
I think with the breaks that you could naturally take in the thing where it was broken into acts, I think that it allowed for having some of those extra scenes, like even if they maybe weren't necessarily the best or moving the story forward in the best way. Mm-hmm. I think that with the breaks, it didn't seem like it was something that was completely, we had that scene, fine, right? It's buried in some part that I don't even remember what part it's in.
He says, too much slow-mo. Wonder Woman didn't need intro music every time.
Oh, yeah, no, she needs music every time. Every time.
Overall better than the Joss version, but not all that great.
Well, the Wonder Woman thing I found interesting because, like, there's the, BVS Wonder Woman music, which always kind of, like, hits and builds up the energy. but this one had kind of like an introduction to that was a little slower.
Yeah.
That was a little odd.
So was it the original Justice League that had the classic theme songs? And I say classic
Yes.
as 80s and 90s.
And I missed that a little bit.
Actually, I do
because
not.
I really liked hearing like some of the classic Batman theme in there, and like
I do too. As in, I trust me. Those are some of my favorite scores. But I felt like in this version they built these new scores that were just as good as the old ones. That I actually thought the hearing the classic versions kind of took me out. So I actually really enjoy it with the new versions more.
so. And I'm gonna admit I'm a little biased here, but like the original Justice League movie, I remember listening to the soundtrack at work a number of times. Because between some of the music that was in it and the scores from all these different eras and stuff that I enjoyed, it was a very easy thing to kind of just League soundtrack put on. I'm listening to this. I don't think I would do that with this soundtrack.
Oh, I would. I actually, I love everything from MOS up to this point. Everything that Junkie XL and I think it's Hans Zimmer and all the whoever else was. I really, really like this.
I like him, but there was a great point made when the original cut came out and the music was changed that I think actually makes a lot of sense. Batman and Superman especially already have some of the most iconic film music of all time.
Yeah.
Why change it?
Yeah, because it was changed in MOS and it works.
Yeah.
That's my point. I mean, I feel like the new Wonder Woman theme is amazing. I felt like the new MOS theme song is amazing. I actually think the Luthor theme song is amazing. I actually think the new Batman theme is amazing. So why go back? Like all of these are amazing. Like why dilute it with? I mean, so I love the classic stuff. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the classic theme song. It's just like I felt like this is not the place for it.
But it would be like James Bond or Star Wars having a different theme song, and it's a little odd.
Yeah.
And
Batman, Nolan Batman have the classic Batman stuff, right? It's like, why does it have to be in this?
That's true, but the Nolan Batman movies were very different.
Well, aren't these very different from the 80s and 90s movies too? I mean, like
it's trying to do
at this point, but you know, all I'm saying is I felt like the new theme songs were amazing and they deserved their place. That's all I'm saying.
In Man of Steel, yes. By the time Superman is joining the Justice League, I think it's appropriate to have the 70s score in it. But I'm not going to argue either way. I'm not going to argue either way. I'm fine with both.
Yeah.
I'm fine with both. Real quick, he says, also, where did Wonder Woman go with the arrow? She took it from the temple and jumped down to where? The biggest bad, and the first thing they showed was getting his ass whooped. The Green Lantern was cool, though. Yeah, she just went down to the Temple of the Amazons. Like, I don't think we saw where she went in, but that was that whole thing she was. So it was like, yeah, just jump down a hole somewhere. She figured it out.
There was a boat that took her.
The arrow just opened the hole. Yeah. Andrew Cuscieri says, "Film definitely."
It's funny that history was conveniently just on the wall for this story.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. It's like attack, right? They're being attacked. Invasion.
Did we like Kilowog in this one?
Kilowog?
Yeah, he was dead. He was one of the dead lanterns in one of the scenes.
In the weird, like, future plugged in, I believe that was part of, like, Cyborg's visions with the Omega beams in the water and, like, showing Darkseid wiping out tons.
Yeah. I didn't see any Green Lanterns in there.
No, Kilowog was in there.
Okay. In what part of that? I remember he fights the Atlanteans.
So that scene jumps around a bunch of different places, showing like all these different defenders being wiped out. And
I will go back and look at it, but I do not remember there being any Green Lanterns in that scene.
See, I'm putting it on my TV right now.
Yes, but yeah, no, it's like there. Like I think it's. I like having stuff that's a nod to something. Right.
Charlie can confirm. I have no recollection of seeing a Green Lantern. Lance says there's a dead Green Lantern on the ground, but the camera moves over him very quickly. Yeah, if there is, I did not catch it, and I have not seen anyone mention Kilowog. I assume it's just. But yeah, let me know. Let me know, Charlie. Let me know if you see it. I'll grab a timestamp.
I thought it was
check it
the
out.
monkey. I thought it was the monkey one.
Monkey?
Yeah, the monkey Green Lantern. The one in the flashback when it was fighting with Zeus and the other people.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name, but yeah, he's like the original Green Lantern of like this sector.
That one was killed in the past. What we're talking about is a flash of the future. Or a vision of the future.
Yeah, I thought that's the scene. I thought he got killed and his ring got flown off, but that's how I remember.
Yeah, no, Toby, not the flashback scene. There's a scene where Cyborg
I know. I'm just saying. I thought that was it, and
it was the same guy. Yeah, Charlie's watching it right now. He could tell us when he gets to it. Andrew Cushieri says film definitely has its problems. I would have kept a few moments from the theatrical cut, but I had an absolute blast watching this movie. Part of me wishes it was even longer, and I hope this isn't the end for Henry Cavill as Superman. Give me that 4-hour cut of BVS. And someone can combine the best scenes of the Justice League and the Snyder cut for the definitive cut. Add in some of those scenes.
Jesus Christ, we're gonna. It's like,
but they'd have to like. It's
like Donner all over again.
They'd have to resaturate or desaturate the hell out of the color to make it to match.
Well, I'd like to see a director's cut of Man of Steel because I think there was more to that movie.
No, I kind of remember the time. I don't think there's really extra stuff in Man of Steel. If I remember looking this up a while back too. I think he got that out pretty much how he wanted it. I have to go back and look, but I remember reading that there wasn't a lot of blowback because it was his first time and they really liked it.
Well, I mean, there was a blowback from like certain aspects of in the movie, like the destruction porn and which which really set the tone for superhero movies afterwards. Because I mean, Age of Ultron had that baby gloves with everyone from Sokovia. And then, of course, Justice League or Man of Steel had the everyone's been evacuated from this area to
Edgar Moreno says, I enjoyed the movie overall. Not a perfect movie by any means. I had a lot, but there's a lot I liked, but even more I didn't. Can't wait for someone to post a compilation of all the out-of-place scenes, like the lady sniffing the sweater or the weird-ass Flash scenes. I also can't wait for Ryan to shit on Falcon and the Winter Soldier if he gets the chance. I enjoyed that, too. Not shitting on Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'll talk more about that next week. I just thought it was kind of a dull first episode. That's it. No, not shitting. I'm very excited for more Falcon and Winter Soldier. I want to see where they go with it. Hunter Patrick says, it didn't click with me until part 3. I did enjoy some moments. Barry and Iris's first meeting was my favorite, but most moments just made it look like the filmmakers were trying too hard to craft a masterpiece. The cast was great for the characters they were playing, but those characters feel nowhere close to the comic characters, which is bothersome. Diablock showed a story I would love to watch, preferably by someone new. He also asks, is there anything you preferred from the theatrical cut versus this cut? And specifically, is the 4 hours warranted? I don't know that any of the scenes and I think we kind of talked a little bit about this. I don't know that I know that any of the scenes were necessarily like better in the theatrical cut. Maybe there was, and I'm just not coming to them. But I liked a few of the more heroic, brighter additions, like the Flash Superman race, and the Superman scene at the beginning, which I know Toby said he didn't like, but I still liked. But as far as warranted, yeah, look, if you're going to do it. There was a shitload of characters to introduce, and I think it doesn't work the other way. I think, again, the difference between movies and TV shows are so blurred right now. It really, whatever format works the best. Comic books, and I've said this for years, comic books really, they're better suited as TV shows because you have so many characters, you have long plot lines, you have the movies should be like the crossover
the
fight
events,
scenes,
like the big thing. Whereas we get Batman's fighting Scarecrow and and in this, Scarecrow and somebody else in this season, or
You get more Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in 2 episodes of WandaVision than their entire appearances in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
And that's just because there's a billion characters that they're fighting with. So, or fighting screen time with. So, yeah. Let's see. David Baroldi says, it managed to clear my extremely low bar of being better than the theatrical. I'll give it that. That said, I'm not sure how Ryan, who constantly shits on Baron Zemo in Civil War, is actually very good, can be cool with the wildly out-of-character portrayal of Darkseid in this. He spends his first appearance screaming unintelligibly, getting his ass quickly handed to him, and forgetting where he left the anti-life equation. Well, David Baroldi,
somebody's getting defensive.
I'm gonna disagree with this entirely because he does not scream unintelligibly. In that scene, he's a conqueror conquering the world, or conquering
he took an
multiple
axe like
worlds.
Thanos, man.
As we described earlier, in this version, he clearly has not gone up against anyone willing to fight back, and is quickly pretty surprised when the gods of this planet fight back along with the masses. And he did not leave the anti-life equation there. He has been searching for the anti-life equation for thousands of years. It was on Earth. He just didn't know it. So he didn't leave it here. That's what he's been looking for. So there you go.
Well, I got the impression that he discovered it on the planet in the past. That whole like weird symbol that appeared in the ground when he landed, when the battle
the big
started,
Omega symbol.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like I had assumed that had to do with identifying the equation, because once Steppenwolf saw the same thing, that's when he made the connection.
He was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. So on Facebook, I sent you a somewhat blurry image, but it's definitely in that sort of cyborg future version where it almost looks like the Justice League Hall.
Okay, yeah, with the Hall of Justice scene, yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean that is a Green Lantern, but
it definitely looks more like Kilowog when I'm not taking a picture as it's running, because if I pause it, the color and everything went wonky.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not mind it being Kilowog, because that puts the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern into continuity, which I wish they would have found a way to sneak that in.
Out of idle curiosity, so there was a lot of feedback from like Justice League, because like Leslie Jones watched it and like tweeted along with it and stuff.
Very funny. It was very funny.
Ryan Reynolds recently watched the Green Lantern movie for the first time.
He did he? I think I saw these tweets. I'm pretty sure I read and retweeted quite a few of these, including his final tweet of saying, the Green Lantern movie actually isn't all that bad. I don't know what I was so afraid of. It's not terrible. Yeah, it's not that bad, guys. It's not that bad. Green Lantern.
Yes.
It's actually okay. It's fine. It's not the greatest movie ever. It's pretty good. It's fun.
Yes.
Okay, what DC movie is it better than?
What movie is it better than? I mean, what? Give me a time frame here.
Green Lantern up till now.
So like Man of Steel and up, because that's it, really. I probably liked it as much as Birds of Prey. I mean, it's in the lower end. I liked it. If I was to like rank it grade wise, probably gets like a B, and I would put like Birds of Prey, maybe like Justice League, and like the director cut, or like the original cut of BVS. I have some issues with the flow of that. It's not my favorite by far. But I think it's a fun movie, and he's fun in it, and I love all the Green Lanterns, and Mark Strong's fucking amazing, and I'm so disappointed we're never getting Sinestro, Yellow Lantern Sinestro. I would kill to have that, but I think DC's recent ones have been all very, very solid. But yeah, no, I'd say it's great.
You have a bias when all of your DC movies are B's and up.
They are, and I just because I like them. I'm sorry, I don't know what you want me to say. Zach Johnson says, I'm not a Snyder fan, and I still think he doesn't understand the concept or the characters. I don't need to see Superman standing there smiling while Wonder Woman chops off Steppenwolf's head. I think this could have been a cool idea for an Elseworld story or something along those lines. The fact this was going to be the main continuity for the DC movies is kind of mind-boggling. And then also
that is definitely a large part of it for me, and I know we've talked about this at length, but it's this was sort of even like the nightmare world and all that. Like, I think you called it out perfectly to a degree, Ryan, that if they wanted to make it an event on HBO Max while doing other movies and other things and whatnot, I much more buy into it than this is the only version of Superman we're going to get in the movies and the only version of Batman we're going to get in the movies and the only as long as there's a balance like there is between normal continuity in comics and Elseworld continuity of comics, I'm much more accepting.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. You'd have a few different takes on this stuff. In a very similar fashion, Tyler says, I'll preface this by saying I think Zack Snyder is the worst thing to happen to the DC cinematic universe. This is a huge improvement on the theatrical movie, and I like the theatrical cut originally. The slapped-on humor being stripped out makes this much more enjoyable, but it still takes itself too seriously for a superhero movie. Superman still fails to be the emotional core of the franchise, and I miss the cell phone video from the first Justice League. I wish we could see the version of the Joker instead of Suicide Squad. Jared Leto is such a weirdo that I think he could have done well if not given the garbage writing and character designs of Suicide Squad. And finally, Craig Anderson is going to wrap us up here. He says, I loved it in all its 4-hour glory. I take back everything bad I said about Zack Snyder movies, except about the abomination that is Sucker Punch. My top 3 takes. You don't know how much of a Frankenstein's monster Whedon created until you see the movie with all his scenes excised from it. The real character winners were Cyborg and Flash. Cyborg has screen time and a story. Barry is no longer just comic relief. The graveyard scene was much improved.
Oh, God, the joke with... You think she's 5,000 years old, Barry. Every man is younger than she is.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. The whole story makes more sense now. Characters have motivations, events have reasons. Martian Manhunter closes the loop by giving us a Martha trilogy. So, okay. Honorable mention, I still love Batfleck. Closing thoughts, this podcast better be 4 hours long. I'm going to walk these dogs of mine into the ground. We'll be out of here by 3, so good attempt. Final thought from Craig Anderson: bring on the Snyder sequel, restore the Snyderverse, as the hashtag goes. So God. Craig is a fan.
You think the Snyder cut fans are just going to transition to the Snyderverse, and
they would have,
and even are they doing the Ayer cut too?
Yeah, of course. This has been weeks, even before the movie came out. They're like I said before, we won. Now give us everything because you took our demands once, so now you're going to take them again, or you're going to you went through with our demands once. Now you're going to do it again. So yeah, I don't know. They're I mean, you can never appease that audience because then they're not going to want other people to do other movies. They want Zack Snyder to do everything ever, and that's just not feasible. So I think if
the audience transitioned at least into, we don't want the studios hindering the creative vision of the things that we're being given when it comes to our superhero characters, right? If they transitioned it more like that versus Snyderverse is the only verse and that's the only one I'm going to believe in, right? If it's more along the lines of we want to see what these directors have in store fully for these characters. Please give them, enough leeway to do that.
It does appear like that. So there is a line. Obviously, the directors at Marvel have some say in their overall vision, but they are obviously set to the tone and standard of the rest of the movies. But clearly, you don't hire Sam Raimi if you want just a very generic thing. He's going to put his spin on it. What's his face from Suicide Squad?
David Ayer.
No, the new one. Why am I blanking on his name?
Gunn.
James Gunn.
Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn. Thank you. James Gunn said Warner Brothers never stopped him once. He did everything he wanted to. So they, I was David S.
Goyer.
Sandberg, is that the guy's name that did Shazam? He kind of had a similar thing where like they didn't.
Well, maybe that's the thing.
Really let him. James Wan with Aquaman. I mean, it was really given free reign to do whatever he wanted. So I think there's a balance, but Snyder had that freedom. But when the kind of critical reaction was negative for BVS, they sort of pulled it back. So there has to be a balance between.
I think it came with Man of Steel first.
He was free to do whatever he wanted in BVS. No. Man of Steel, he was given pretty much complete freedom. In BVS, he was given complete freedom. And the Justice League, he was given complete freedom until BVS came out, and they're like, "Oh fuck!"
But the difference is a lot of these, like, especially now with what Zack Snyder has said, like, his story is quote unquote freedom was across a lot of fucking movies. Like, he wasn't making what I would call one movie without looking towards this is what I'm going to do next, and this is what I'm going to do after that, and this is what I'm going to do after that, which is kind of odd. Like, when you look at, or talk about like Aquaman and that kind of stuff, like, there's always, or even like Wonder Woman, there's always the conversation after that one was successful, what are you going to do next? It doesn't necessarily feel like there's this big, long, drawn-out plan that is going on all the time. And I kind of feel like that's where it's different. Like, when you look at this Justice League movie, or you look at BVS, that doesn't feel like he completed his quote-unquote vision.
Not till Justice League.
Not even with Justice League. With Justice League, because of the nightmare flashes, because of everything else, it still feels like his vision is incomplete.
Yeah. He threw the kitchen sink in at the end to do his thing, but I know there was talk of 2 Justice League movies, which probably would have been it would have included the nightmare stuff. So there was there's more he wants to do.
But I guess what I'm saying is I kind of feel like that's part of what makes this unique and continues to egg everything on. Is it's very odd to think about. Like, I didn't really feel this way with Man of Steel. I didn't walk out of Man of Steel feeling like, okay, he already knows what he's going to do next. But with BVS to this, it really feels like he mapped out, these are the 5 movies I'm going to do or whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's a very different situation, because I guarantee you, and this goes back to sort of like Aquaman and Shazam and a lot of this other stuff, is based on the feedback, based on the fan reactions, it wasn't necessarily ever going to be his job to tell the next 5 movies kind of thing.
Right. Well, and I think with Marvel, a lot of the directors do feel a little interchangeable. Maybe Taika Waititi's kind of the one that is a little, he could kind of have his own little universe to play in with those characters. With Ragnarok and Love and Thunder. I just don't know, even the guys that did Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame, they are still working at the Russo brothers. They're still working at the overall direction of Marvel Studios. I don't think that equivalent really is here. The movies for DC still feel pretty standalone, and I think that's going to be their approach. I don't expect a massively connected movie universe, at least not anytime soon. We have all the movies feel very, and that's fine, because we can have 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 different movies, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, and now we're going to do Justice League again, because we've got all these characters that we can throw in here. We have all these villains. We could do Justice League versus the Legion of Doom, and we could do it right. We don't have to introduce the villains in Justice League. Mm-hmm. They're already around. We already have the characters around, so now we can just go to Justice League.
I think
because they did jump the gun. I mean, they didn't. They only jumped at a movie or 2 faster than Marvel. Marvel got to Avengers very, very quickly, but they had more time with Cap, Thor, and Iron Man had their solo movies.
But the thing about the Cap, Thor, and Iron Man and Hulk movies is that there was a tone that was set for the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
There's this flatline thing, right? And then, but what we got from Iron Man was a movie that was really that felt like it was from and telling the story of Iron Man. When we went to Cap, it was it was a Cap movie, right? It was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it was a Cap movie. When you get to Thor, it's more based around Thor. But we have this thing going on. And then, we carry that through. Iron Man's doing his thing through his solo movies. Thor's doing his thing. Captain America's doing his thing. Civil War, I think, is where Captain America started to kind of merge with a lot of the other things and try to pull it together. But it works for the most part. But I think every movie had a tone that was based on the character versus a tone that was based on how the overall movie, this bar for the overall movie universe. I mean, Ant-Man is by no means, a movie that's
and Ant-Man, yeah, Ant-Man is very, very different,
right? Very different, but it's based around that character, and it works so well with that character. And then when you bring all of them together, I think that's where Marvel succeeded. Was they had these pots going, and then they put it all together in this really big one that was just 10 years in the making, and it was just amazing. Whereas like DC, it's more of, okay, Snyder's vision, and then Aquaman comes out of Snyder's vision, but they change the tone to be more Aquaman-y, and I think the Wonder Woman's the same thing.
He executive produced a lot of these movies, but tonally they're much more in the style of directors or the people that worked on them, and that's fine. With the Marvel movies, the characters are way more consistent. Ant-Man is Ant-Man in every movie, and he feels very much the same. Doctor Strange is very much the same. Cap's very much the same. The DC movies are more disconnected, but that's okay too, as long as you have you don't. I mean, that just has to be the style they're going for. If they want a Justice League, it is weird in a case like Amara, where she's a British accent, muted red hair, and much more kind of flat in Justice League, whereas she's a very different character in Aquaman. That connection is a bit odd. That difference is a bit odd. But if something like Suicide Squad, The Batman, Green Lantern Corps, these movies are all completely disconnected from each other, so they can just do whatever they want. But if they want to bring them all together later, they can do that. Yeah. Final thoughts. We'll never finish. Scheisse. We'll never finish talking about the Snyder Cut. It'll be something I'm sure we'll
I said this at the beginning. We're not going to do an entire thing. We're just going to do it in parts. So we'll talk more next week and the week after. We'll release it how Scott was saying it, tease it out.
I think we've all said our fair share. Any last thoughts before we wrap up, guys? I know Scott and Kevin both had to take off, but we appreciate them for being on for as long as they could.
We didn't talk about Cyborg all that much, but I really, really, really like what they did with him in this version, and I like how it came
about Cyborg.
Yeah.
I think that's when you left. We were asked. I was trying to talk to you, and you did not reply for a few minutes. We were talking about Cyborg, and I think you left at one point.
I went to the restroom for like a minute. Yeah.
We definitely talked about Cyborg for a while.
I don't think we dived into Cyborg as deep as I think we all enjoyed it.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, Toby, for me, the first viewing through, it still felt odd to me to see a very broody version of Cyborg. I'm just not used to that from the character at all. My second viewing, I kind of felt like I enjoyed it more, but I think that's one of those things that really, really struck me about this movie is I kind of felt like you had too many characters in sort of that dark, broody mode, which almost reminds me a little bit of that, Teen Titans Go episode about let's get serious, where everybody's got to be...
Yeah, I mean, as a guy that went through harsh injuries in life and followed a lot of other athletes that have gone through very serious injuries, seeing his storyline was very cool. And I felt like for this story, the brooding was what was right, and him trying to accept what he's become. Also, the fact that he actually looks weird, like the transformer look, as you call it, Ryan. I usually don't like it, but for him, I did because it made him feel more bizarre. So I for this storyline, I actually thought it was fitting that the legs are not quite right and the arms are not quite right, and the stuff he's still trying to figure out. But I really, really enjoyed Cyborg's story in this and how it came together. Also, like the end where everybody had a part in the end fight. Like Cyborg is doing his thing, Flash was doing his thing. I actually really enjoyed the Flash run back in time thing. Uh, but my favorite scenes in the movie were not in the original cut, and one is Wonder Woman and Aquaman talking about how they're standing next to each other in a truce while their people are at war. I really like that, and Aquaman is like, "Well, I'm only half Atlantean." I really enjoyed that line. And the other one was Superman showing up with Alfred, which we mentioned briefly before. But I really both of those scenes, they're small scenes, but they went a long way with me, and I really enjoyed them. The other thing I really liked was Cyborg's "I'm Not Broken" part, because that's, I mean, his inner turmoil that he came at peace with at that point. So I was like, that was all really cool shit, and I really, really liked it.
I didn't notice as I was watching it, but maybe Ryan and Charlie, since you've seen it twice, did cyborgs like did the cybernetic parts of him that were kind of transforming and not working so well, did they transition during the movie into more like fluid and more like did it have a change?
Which parts?
No, like did so you know how we had in Wonder Woman 84, um, Barbara's character transformed from mousy to dominant alpha predator. Did the costume for Cyborg transition at all? I don't remember if it was like a different thing or not.
No,
That was pretty much the same all the way through.
it was him the whole time. Yeah, no, it didn't change. What?
Ooh, giant spider! Kill it!
Go pick it up.
Kill it! Nuke it from orbit.
Yeah, no. As far as I know, yeah. No, I mean, it's weird the whole time. Yeah, it was just too. My complaint was it was just too like over designed or something like that.
Well, it felt like it was trying to go for the robotic look, but not the robotic look, and it was like I found it a little jarring. What I really loved about his story was just like just the his power level was just so well established in that scene where his father's talking him through things and you're in telling him you could control the world, right? Like I think it brought Cyborg's powers to the level where it's like, yes, he is a Justice League member. He does hit that mark.
Yeah, no, I think Cyborg did like I said, his character was definitely cooler in this. He had a lot more to do and a lot more plot, and that's good. That's what you wanted. An extra 2 hours of a movie. I sure hope they did more with it. So,
I really wish Barry would have learned how to brake better, because he was falling down a lot in this movie.
That's a Flash problem. It's a Flash problem. Okay, we are done. Thank you all very, very much for listening. We have to thank our good patron backers here: Joe Duff, Jesse Peterson at the Comic Book Matters podcast, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum podcast, Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, and Craig Anderson at Clear Path Coaches. Thank you guys very much for your support.
Thank you.
I know a couple of you like the Snyder Cut. A couple of you. Craig did. That's good.
I think overall it improves, right? Like Man of Steel is down here. The BVS extended cut moves you up forward, and then Justice League, the Snyder Cut is.
I got to get my ranking going. I think I gotta get
ranking lists, man.
I gotta get WandaVision on my Marvel list too. I gotta get that in a spot too.
Yeah, because where are you going to put Falcon Winter Soldier? Because that transition episode was, the worst.
I mean, wait till it's over till I judge it. If you would like to hear previous episodes of this podcast, you can go to comicspiracypodcast.com, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Of course, if you are a Patreon backer, that's at patreon.com/comicconspiracy. I always appreciate the support we get from everyone. If you want to kick us a couple bucks, head over to comicspiracy.biz. That is our physical storefront, or our digital storefront of our physical store. So you can buy all sorts of comics and graphic novels and toys and crap on there. Check out conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog, video pull list, unboxing videos. Charlie has Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That is his Doctor Who podcast. You can listen to that weekly? Bi-weekly?
It's monthly now.
It's monthly now because of the break. Yeah. And do not forget to miss. Do not forget to check out and do not miss the weekly interview series Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com. That's Kevin's weekly interview series with creators. And go to leannehill.com and etsy.com/shop/leannehillart. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. You can buy some artwork of hers on there. She just finished a WandaVision piece.
It's a really good piece too.
Oh, thank you. I'll let her know. If you are on Twitter, you can follow all of us. I am Ryan Higgins. Ryan. Brock is, let me update this. Because his original account is gone for now. Brock's at Best Basement, BES Basement. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. I don't remember what Scott's Shea, I think. Yeah, SHEA. The store is Comics Con Store. I know. We're almost done recording. Little dog. We're almost done recording. The store is Comics Con Store. Listen to the Geek Box where we talk about the Snyder Cut for a little bit this week. However, not this long. And check out Manga Machinations, some of our friends of Recorder Manga Podcast. I don't think they talk about the Snyder Cut.
I don't think they're going to talk about that either.
For everyone listening, thank you. Thank you for surviving the Snyder Cut with us. It's been a wild couple of years while this thing's happening. Hopefully you liked it. If you didn't like it, well, that's all right. Hopefully you watched it. And if you didn't watch it, give it a shot. Never hurts.
Well,
have fun.
So the funny thing is, my roommate, I talked to him.
We are not need funny things at 3 hour point. What's your funny thing? What's your funny thing?
He's like, I'm not watching Justice League. After I finished it, after I watched it, I stopped at part 3. I literally was like, you need to watch this. And so he ended up watching it. He's like, yeah, you're right. It's been better.
I have to say, a lot of normals that didn't like the theatrical cut are just turned off. Like I have my buddy, actually he's not a normal, but he's my buddy Nate. I've been trying to get him to watch this one. He goes, no, he hated the theatrical one. So he goes, why waste another 4 hours of his life? So the 4 hours actually is a big turnoff for him, yeah.
Chapter break, man. I'm telling you,
they should
put it out. They should put it out as a 6-part.
Just watch that first part. If you don't like it, you can stop.
Yeah, they should put it out as a 6 episode.
To me, it was all about the end, where everything came together. Like, the end is the biggest change for me, like, overall. Like, sure, there's added scenes, but the end kind of put everything in perspective where I like this version way better than the original. So he would have to go through all 4.
I will see. The reviews were good, and that can sometimes spur people. Like the actual critical reviews were very positive, so that can sometimes get people to watch stuff.
Larson to watch anything.
I mean, it was a 78 on Rotten Tomatoes last time someone showed it to me, so I do not visit Rotten Tomatoes myself. But
on the Bryce's watch list.
I asked him if 75 or higher is enough for him to watch, and he said he'd give it a try. But of course, he did not for this podcast. But that is okay.
I think it's hilarious that we didn't even talk about the 4x3 screening, the size of the screen. We didn't talk about.
It didn't even bother me.
We're like, so what about the black and white that's coming?
Yeah, that's coming too. We could talk about all this on other podcasts when it is not midnight, because I'm going to stop recording right now because I have to get up in not too long. Some of us work tomorrow. All of us work tomorrow. We're done. Thank you for enjoying this podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching the Snyder Cut. And if you didn't, why the hell have you listened to us for 3 hours? You could have been watching the Snyder Cut and just watch the movie yourself. Goodbye. We'll see you next week.